It's finally upon us, folks. The biggest cinema event in recent history since Endgame. How cool is it that we have two movies out the same day that are really invigorating people back into the cinemas? We're going to talk fully in-depth discussion, spoiler-free discussion of both of these movies. And of course, I'm talking about Barbie and Oppenheimer. We're going to be talking about the goods, the bads, the mids. We're going to be talking about just the general Barbenheimer cultural event, what it is. You know, it's been quite a wild ride. So I hope to have a bunch of these boomer middle-aged men, no girls allowed. I don't know. I didn't find a few ladies. I don't think they'll show up. But we'll just have a very penis-centric discussion of these very phallic movies. That was one thing I do regret about Oppenheimer. Not enough phallus-shaped missiles. We'll get into that. Anyway, it's Monday. Tales for the Dorkside. You guys know what I'm doing. Goofing off. I'm goofing off. All right, we got Tyler in here on time, like a good boy. How you doing, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. And yourself?
Now, great. I know your videos, your two videos you made of these two movies. They were both. You both seemed pretty disappointed. One in the theater response of your Oppenheimer review, and Barbie. What did you think of Barbie?
Well, truth be told, I skipped Barbie on the advice of Alan Ng from Film Threat.
You did a non-review. That's right.
I'm working on that. In fact, that'll probably be the majority of what I do tomorrow. I already have quite a hell of an intro where I'm going to do it in the style of 2.5 Ken. I'm surprised nobody else has done that, because that is just...
I mean, there's so many. I mean, I gotta say, the Barbie film. I mean, we'll obviously be talking about both of these movies in general. Go ahead.
The most experience I really have with this movie is editing the majority of B-roll footage for Dark Hours.
Right.
Very interesting tangent, which
he got very upset. I gotta say, I don't agree with some of the YouTubers like Critical Drinker and these other guys who are literally like enraged by this movie. Ben Shapiro going on a 43-minute rant, burning Barbies. It was I didn't watch it either, but I mean, I didn't watch it.
No, I saw Shapiro's video. And,
I saw like some clips of it, some little say, but it's like, I don't need it. You know, I watched the movie for an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. I don't need to add an extra 45 minutes talking about a guy. You know, I don't know. That's the thing, is like, I made my stupid Barbenheimer video, and that was really more about life. You know, that was more about like where we're at currently in the world. It really had nothing to do with the actual movies. But then again, it's like people don't want to watch videos that are either positive. People don't want to watch people glowing praises about, Oppenheimer, unless it's like a 30-second short. Like, hey, I just walked out of Oppenheimer. It's great. Check it out.
Well, I mean, that's not quite true. I feel like an outsider being one of the only people to say, yeah, I thought it was fine. It just wasn't the mind-blowing extravaganza that a lot of people are making it out to be. Like, I'm on Letterboxd a fair bit. The lowest score people are willing to give is a 4. Everything else is 4.5 and 5 stars.
5 is the highest.
Yeah, like 5 out of 5. From people who I did not think were going to like it as much as they ended up doing. I mean, Stuckman loving Oppenheimer, that doesn't really surprise me. I only know that because I stole his tags for my video, and it seems to be working.
Yeah. I mean, I liked both movies for what they were. Let me explain it that way. The thing about Barbie, Oppenheimer, some people's criticisms about Oppenheimer was it wasn't really even a movie. It was like a moving painting that was like had extreme, like the music for me was the best part of that movie. Some people were criticizing the music was a little overdone, a little overly loud, but Jesus Christ, it was just driving everything for me. Like every time the music, like it was kind of reminded me of when I first saw Solaris, the George Clooney version. It's an okay, like the start is very bland. You got weird shots, abstract, minimalistic shots of the future, a psychiatrist, and then these two guys in the military outfits show up to his house, his apartment, and tell him, "Hey, we need you to go to space." And you're like, "Okay." And then the opening, the space stuff, it cuts to space, and then the music kicks in, and the music is like unlike anything you've ever fucking heard, and it's all of a sudden you're like kind of getting on the edge of your seat a little. You're like, okay, I'm digging this atmosphere. That was the same vibe I had with Oppenheimer when the listen to the music part started. We're like a good 5 minutes into the movie, and now it's like, listen to the music, and the music starts playing, and you start hearing those crazy synth horns. Hey,
Sorry.
I like how I have like the neon like joggers pink.
You blend right
you go.
in. So
Oh yeah,
you guys are rocking the Easter pink. I got my little sunglasses in my hair and
pink this too.
well, see,
yeah.
I got this shirt for Christmas, and my grandparents, they always ask me, what color do you want your dress shirt for Christmas? I really don't fucking
Pink
care.
lemonade, is that what that is?
This is pink lemonade. See, this is New Amsterdam, and it's yeah.
Shit, you know what? My mom actually has that in their stash somewhere, which would matter if I drank, but I don't.
Now, I was reading that all pink lemonade originally was pink lemonade with a little bit of cranberry juice in it. And for some reason, just because it was pink, everyone went fucking ape shit over it, you know? So,
yeah,
pretty clever.
Might get some echo effects. I'm back in the apartment. These are
sound good, dude.
Some hollow ass walls, man.
Nah, it's fine. Yeah. That did sound pretty thunderous when you slammed that down. That's pretty good.
I got this desk. That's why.
Well, yeah. I mean, Chris, you're only popping in a few minutes late, but yeah, we're just giving our general impressions of these two movies. I was basically saying like, I liked both movies for what they were. I didn't hate Barbie as much as everyone does. I mean, I definitely walked out of there thinking it wasn't good. It's one of those movies that I think I'm on the train where I think the movie, you guys look like a gay Easter basket. Hey, Wes, thanks for popping in.
Is that coming from Don't Ask, Don't Tell experience, or?
I mean, I do dig the pastel colors in general, the blue, pink, yellow combo, but it is a little, gay. But hey, you know what? I was saying the thing about the Barbie movie, it's one of those movies I think like you can apply a based meaning to it. It could be one of those movies that could be interpreted as accidentally based, kind of like Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers, they tried to make it all about fascism and militarism, but really it's only like, fascist paraphernalia everywhere. Like, the people are in like Nazi type uniforms, but they don't really do anything actually fascist. Whereas like this movie, it preaches a lot about like, the patriarchy and feminism, but it's never really portrayed as like, that's the correct viewpoint. That's the correct viewpoint. It's never really portrayed. It's almost like portrayed like kind of laughably. Like, for instance, all the women are just constantly like, yeah, we'll have power. Like they literally want power. And they say it like 2 or 3 times where like one of the things they want is power. It seems like I'm on board with kind of like the idea that it's like on the surface, yes, it seems very misandrist. It seems very third wave feminist. It seems very woke. But when you dig a little deeper, it's like it's actually kind of painting these in a negative light. It actually paints Ken as like an antagonist, and also there is a justification for all this silly feminist nonsense. It is like I thought it was a pretty clever apt EVS. Ethan Van Sciver was saying that he thinks that this movie was basically, Barbie's all coming from the point of view of a small girl, a little girl. Little girls invented the world of Barbie. So that's why the world of Barbie makes no sense inherently. There's just no, of course, Blue Collar found a liquor drink to match his stream. And of course, Stupenzo finds a much better movie to compare the shit show feminist propaganda. Yeah, I love Starship Troopers. But I'm saying the point is like, you can see this movie being accidentally based, I think, based on Ken being A, the highlight of the movie, and B, the only really relatable character. But then again, I'm not a girl. I'm hearing like, I definitely think that this movie wasn't for little girls at all, but I know that women who are our age, who played with Barbies, they definitely seem to be resonating with this film a bit because it comes from that point of view.
Yeah.
My sister asked me if I had seen it yet, and when I said that I didn't really tell her my reasoning behind skipping it, but yeah, she really enjoyed it, and I'm happy for her. But I mean, the politics of this movie align with hers to a T, and yeah, they're not my politics. And I mean, she knows that, but she doesn't lecture me about it, thankfully.
You're saying she's pretty radical leftist or radically she's right or left leaning?
Oh, she's radically left. I mean,
left. Okay. So I think she might actually hate the movie then. Really?
Oh, no, she didn't.
Oh, she liked it?
Quite the contrary. In
well,
fact,
so here's the thing I got to ask. Like, so here's some funny stuff. Like, for instance, all the Kens, even though they have a very diverse group of Barbies, you know, we have no Asian Barbies, by the way. There's not a single Asian Barbie, even though
that was the first thing Alan Ng pointed out. He's just like, did you guys love Asian Barbie? And Gore just goes, was there an Asian Barbie? No, there fucking wasn't.
Yeah, wait till second week. We were going to see Barbie bomb harder than Fat Man and Little Boy in Japan. I don't know if it's going to bomb that hard. It'll definitely take a dip in terms of like definitely children should not be seeing this movie. So there's definitely going to be a huge like no more taking kids. Like families aren't going to be going to this movie. Yeah. But I think it might, you know, I think there might be plenty of people like in the gaining interest in both Oppenheimer and Barbie over time. Yeah. I don't really see Barbie slowing down anytime soon too much.
I'd like to say that people wouldn't take their kids to see this, but I would just like to point out that I sat next to 5 and 7-year-olds during Get Out, Logan, and Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
Yeah, but I think like you take a kid to that movie if he's like, you know, some kids are down for that kind of stuff. I was one of those kids. You could take me to a violent action film. I'd be on my best behavior. I like the movie, you know. Some kids are cool like that. But when you take a kid to see this Barbie movie, like a little tutu wearing girl, like I was, like lots of little 6-year-olds in dresses and stuff, there's definitely like a point, like it's at some point when fucking Barbie's inventor's ghost shows up where all the children in the theater are fucking getting restless at that point. Like they're going to the bathroom. You can hear the crinkles, the rapping. The kids are kind of like wandering. They're not paying attention. And then meanwhile, like the adult women are like wiping tears from their eyes and shit at some point. It's just like, what the fuck? I was definitely like having a this is the first time I went to the theaters since Licorice Pizza in October 2021. All right.
Wait, I thought you went to see Bo in the theater.
See what?
Bo's Afraid. I thought you went to that.
No. I saw it recently on digital.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw it recently on. I finally got around to seeing it. I should have seen it in the theater because then I could have gotten some of these discussions you were on because that was a fucking great movie. But yeah, I hadn't been to the theater in forever, and it's such a vastly different experience between two movies. But what was so great in general was like I have a small town movie theater here in my town, and I didn't realize it was open. You look up movie showtimes on the phone, and it's just like Regal Cinema playing in 30 miles from now from here. There's a Cinemark 12 miles from here. And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure there's a small movie theater here. And I look it up, and there's a theater. It's got 4 screens, no reserve seating. You walk in, it's $6 a ticket, $6.50 a ticket. They got 4 screens. It's literally Mission Impossible, Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
The 4 biggest movies. And walked into Oppenheimer like 5 minutes before it was supposed to start. There's one old lady in the theater. And then like 5 more people come in closer to showtime. And we watched the movie, and it was great. But then I tried to do the same thing the next day, the same theater for Barbie at 3:00, same time, basically. I show up 10 minutes early. The movie sold out. I literally was like, it was like one of the things where I get up to the concession. Everyone in front of me is buying Barbie tickets. And I get to the line, and it's like, you're sold out. It's so funny. But I definitely suspected Barbie would make a shitload more money, and seeing that in the flesh definitely confirmed it.
Well, I mean, very few people, people know about the atomic bomb and everything, but they don't really know about the people behind it, which I think was the mass appeal behind this. And everybody fucking knows what Barbie is, and this technically isn't even the first Barbie movie by any means. My sister had
all the CG ones you're talking about.
Yeah,
some of them. Like my sister had 3 or 4, as from what I understand, and I actually do remember. Why is that a saving grace? Somebody please tell me what the hell. Yeah,
I don't. Joking.
I know, but like
taking a positive role model in what Barbie was and turn her into a bitter anti-man hating. Pussy bitch is disgraceful. Yeah, I mean,
and the ironic thing is the Barbie movies that my sister and I grew up with actually treated men on the same level, which I didn't think was even possible. But
I can hear you typing, blue collar.
Oh yeah, check my phone.
So good.
But yeah, maybe it was just because there were Ken dolls and they needed to sell toys or promote romantic relationships to young children or whatever. But the Kens in those movies sometimes actually had better character development and arc than the Barbie characters, which because Barbie was always kind of like Belle from Beauty and the Beast, where she kind of had things figured out. She was kind of just there to solve them. And I mean, they had the same voice actress every time. And oh, for God's sake, now what?
Let's be real. If this was a real summer blockbuster movie season with actual contenders, Barbie wouldn't be any kind of contender. There is no question. I disagree on this movie.
Mostly because I will say this, talented people were involved. Yeah. I mean, I've seen Greta Gerwig's stuff and a few Noah Baumbach movies, not a ton, but enough to know his style. And like, I took my sister on Christmas 2019, I took her to see Little Women. And we both cried our eyes out. Like, it was one of the best movies that I had seen all year.
I did like Lady Bird.
And part of the reason that it surprised me that Greta Gerwig went from Little Women to this is that Little Women, despite its title, the ladies and the gents were all written on the same level of like thematic depth, and you could argue that that's to make the Little Women themselves look better, but it's absolutely true. I mean, Saoirse Ronan and Florence Pugh have that love triangle with Timothée Chalamet, and it's the one love triangle where I can honestly say I had no idea which one he was going to end up with. Chris Cooper gives maybe his most sympathetic performance, where at first you think he's a total grump, and then it turns out he's just a man grieving the loss of someone, and one of the Little Women basically gives him this solace that he never thought he would have. And I never thought I would say this about a Chris Cooper performance, but it was very touching. Hell, Bob Odenkirk has like
Chris
5-10
Cooper
minutes.
From American Beauty?
Yeah.
He won an Oscar for that movie. What are you talking? He's a great actor. I like him.
Well, no. He won it for adaptation. And
right. He was nominated for Beauty. Yeah.
I don't remember that, but in any case, like, Chris Cooper's a great actor, but he's always the grumpy one of the bunch. And in this, he was a total sweetheart, and he's surprisingly convincing at it, given the fact that it's a stuffy period piece. Hell, Bob Odenkirk has like 10 minutes in it tops, and that was odd. I wasn't fully versed in Better Call Saul yet, so that was kind of the one where I'm sitting there going, "Huh, you actually can act."
Yeah, I don't know. Little Women's based on like a pre-existing thing, so yeah, I mean,
right, but most of the adaptations are like cheap miniseries that
Sure.
nobody pays attention to unless they win Emmys. So like Gerwig had to prove that she could take this source material and make it look cinematic.
Well, I've said it before. I like Greta Gerwig from House of the Devil, where she plays the babysitter's friend who gets her head blown off by the pizza delivery guy. That's a good movie. But yeah, I agree with Sherry. There was definitely like I don't like the bait and switch aspect of it. I didn't like how it was. I mean, the movie is rated PG-13, so you could hide behind that shield that like, well, technically this movie's not really for children because it's rated PG-13. But it's like, dude, it's definitely a Barbie movie. They should definitely have at least like hinted at the vagina and gynecology jokes in the trailers. You know, I mean, they do show her getting her ass smacked, but
see, Gorse mentioning her trip to the gyno at the very end was like the tip of the last straw for me.
So here's the thing.
One.
Like, it's one of those, this is one of those movies where like on the surface, it's like, okay, the movie literally ends with her like being pulled up to like, okay. So like the thing is, you know, they demonstrate Barbie land. It's a world conjured by children, little girls. It has this little girl like attitude. Like even when the Kendom takes over, it has this idea of like, kind of like how Russ was saying, like, this idea of like, you know, women always constantly invading male properties and changing everything. This is kind of what was happening to them.
Yeah.
And it was kind of brilliant, but it did come from this idea of like a little girl's idea of what men do. You know, they hang out with horses and they do these fights with like racket. They're not even real fights. You know, they go to war and it's like a play war. There's definitely like this childish aspect of everything. And this idea of like how it doesn't really work out. It doesn't really compute. But anyway, the point is like they do like repair Barbie land and turn it back into this like matriarchal society, which is what someone had a lot of people have a problem with. Like she doesn't like what's the word? She doesn't like work out her differences with Ken and realize she was being a dick to him, and they don't like get together and become like a power couple. There is no like battle of the sexes like put aside. It basically becomes Barbie land again. But what's cool is Barbie decides, I don't want to do this. I want to go to the world, the patriarchal world that it kind of inadvertently like sells it. And then of course with that responsibility, like you think at the end she's getting dropped off to some kind of job interview. And she goes inside and she walks up to the reception office and she's like, I'm here to make an appointment with my gynecologist. Yeah. And that's literally the last joke. And that is pretty on the surface, like I said, fucked up and weird and not appropriate for a Barbie movie. But like I said, like the idea is like, it's like a little girl's fantasy of what it's like to be a little girl, what a little girl thinks it's like to be a woman. And the possibilities are endless. But then, the actual world is a patriarchal, imperfect world. And yet Barbie still chooses it. Barbie chooses to have a vagina and go to the patriarchy. So it's one of those movies where, like, if you're super feminist, you'll interpret it as a feminist movie. If you kind of interpret it, if you're like a base Chad, you'll see like the base Chad messagings, Yeah. Oh no, it's spoiled the movie. Now I can't see it. All shucks. Yeah, I mean, I know. To be honest, I thought we would start with Oppenheimer first, but it seems like we just gravitated towards Barbie, which, in fairness, I think we could talk about longer. That's the thing about this Barbie movie. And the campaigns were spot on. If you love Barbie, you'll like this movie. If you hate Barbie, you might like this movie. I don't know. I thought like I walked out of it like not liking it. Like, ew. Like it was like a reverse Prometheus where like I walked out of Prometheus liking it. And the more I thought about it, like on the ride home, I was like, that was awful. Whereas this, I kind of walked out like, God damn, that was bad. And then the more I was driving home, I was like, well, it wasn't. It was good for what it was.
Yeah.
Stay with Oppenheimer.
See, I think it's a problem right there what you're saying. The thing is, if the entire vibe of the film could be like, well, this is how little girls see the world, understandable. We get that little girls may see it like that. But this isn't how like there's no little girl playing with a Barbie doll at 5, 6, 7 years old talking about that. Okay, women want to be Supreme Court justices. No 7-year-olds like women need to be the president, and men control all positions of power. Men control. Everything is so it's like Barbie land. Barbie land is perfect that Barbie's rule and men are subservient because not to little girls but to adult women's mind that in the real world fucking men rule everything and all women do is serve men. And I'm like, that's not how the real world fucking works, lady.
Yeah,
it didn't work that way when it didn't work that way when I was a kid. I mean, do you have any idea how many times men and women said to us as kids, you could be anything you want to be so long as you work for it? Hell, if you watched Barney, you just you find out that you literally can do anything. And now that Daniel Kaluuya is turning that into a movie, and apparently it's getting its own cartoon separate of that, I guess we're getting a bit of a resurgence of that shit.
Well, it sucks, Tyler.
Yeah, wait for the Hot Wheels Mattel movie next. Jesus Christ.
As I'm watching it, I'm thinking to myself, that's the problem. Is the first like say 10 minutes. Telling little girls a good message is that, listen, when you get older, if you want to be a mechanic, you can be a mechanic. If you want to be an astronaut, you can be an astronaut. As a premise, that is a good message. What the problem comes down to is that, well, the thing is, if you're a little girl, as you become a woman, you can never be an astronaut because every man out there won't let you be an astronaut. You can't become fucking a judge. You can't even fucking vote because
it's not that men won't allow it. It's just we're so much better at this shit. It's hard for you to get in the door unless we literally like move the goalposts. I'm sorry, it's true.
I'm not. I can't side with that.
But that's the vibe they give them is that the reason that women have all those positions of power in Barbie land is because in the real world women can't do anything in the real world, and that's the message they're telling little girls is that okay, in Barbie land you can be anything you want, but in the real world you can't do anything because of men. And it's the same fucking vibe of like, okay.
Then they demonstrate the exact opposite when Ken goes to the real world. He thinks it's like, how the little girls think. Like all the men have all the power in the real world. And he shows up and he's like, one job, please. And they're like, no. And it's actually, and that's the other thing that I liked about the movie is they specifically say straight up, like the ghost of Rhea Perlman plays Ruth. That's the last name I'm looking for. The inventor of Barbie.
Okay.
She plays the ghost of the inventor of Barbie. She visits Barbie twice. And at the end, she literally says the words, the patriarchy isn't real. It's something that we invented to explain these like complicated feelings we have. And it's just like, and that's the other thing I liked about this movie was the constant self-deprecation. Mattel making fun of itself constantly. shitting on itself. Like Mattel are literally the enemies. Mattel's like Barbie's invented the Barbie toy. Mattel boards are just a bunch of 60-year-old white men. There's literally no women involved. And
even though it's funny, Chris, we were talking about Shapiro's 45-minute rant, and he literally pointed out how, if anything, it's kind of even out in real life at Mattel between men and women, even though Barbie was literally invented by a woman in the first place, which kind of negates the whole anti-feminist reputation that Barbie had in the first place.
Well, again, more surface level complaints I'm hearing are, obviously the opening scene, which I was shocked was actually in the movie. The 2001 trailer. I thought that would have been nice as like just a teaser trailer and not actually in the movie, kind of like the Terminator 2 teaser trailer where they're like putting together the fucking Terminators, in the factory. But that scene's literally the start of the movie, and definitely like openly shitting on womanhood, or motherhood, as you would interpret it. With the dolls, the little girl smashing the baby dolls and rejecting motherhood. But the thing is, you have to understand, Barbie was invented in what, the 50s? Yeah. So the idea is it was the first time little girls were being told, like, hey, you can be like sexy. You can be like a bombshell. You can be. So again, it was like when little boys get G.I. Joe, where you're told like, you can go be a fucking soldier. You can go be a super soldier, a superhero, a vigilante with the Punisher. It's kind of the same thing. Whereas like the first time where little girls were being told like, yeah, you're allowed to be a sexy bombshell. But see, the problem is in 2023, that's all we hear nowadays is like, don't be a mom, just be a slut. So I think that's why it's like, we don't need to be hearing that message again.
I don't know if we're teaching people to be sluts, considering how many actresses in Hollywood complain about how scantily clad they've had to be in the past.
Yeah. There's definitely like a pushback too on it, because like kids are less sexual than ever now.
Yeah, no, it definitely is one of the things where it's like it feels like our mothers and our grandmother's generation, the whole like the stay-at-home mom thing. Listen, if you don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, you want to work 95 hours a fucking week like the rest of us, that's your business. But
by the way, I want to go back. When I said kids, I meant like teenagers. All right, when I like you know what I mean. You know what I meant. Kids aren't teenagers aren't fucking as much anymore.
But something I've seen in the past at least 10 years that listen. I'm not saying every woman needs to be a stay-at-home mom, but the thing is there are a lot of stay-at-home moms, and for all these women that they think that stay-at-home mom is easy. Okay, you obviously didn't know my grandmother's generation, because you think my grandmother had a fucking easy life. I mean, try raising 2, 3, 4 kids while your husband or boyfriend is working 10, 12 hours a day and having dinner done, soccer practice. Stay-at-home mom it's a fucking full-time job in itself.
And also the idea that it's not a rewarding job. That's the other fucking misconception. Like, all my friends who are having kids are like, it's the best fucking thing in the world. I don't understand why, once people start spitting out kids and raising them, you're like, that's why the red pill comes, that's why you start seeing these like people settle down and become more quote unquote conservative, because you realize like these motherfuckers that have been telling us not to procreate are literally lying, saying that they're like soul sucking bastards. Now, obviously, like some kids are monsters and they go off to go do Columbine type things. Those are exceptions to the rule. But as far as what you're saying about just like, I don't know how this all started with this ultra third wave feminist like hating men all the time, but everyone's sick of it. So
even the whole like the strong empowered female businesswoman that wants to advance her career. If you want to do that, that's fine. But you don't shit on the woman who wants to be 25. So, some women at 15 know they want to be moms like me. Like, I'm a proud father of 16-year-olds. I knew in my entire life I wanted to be a dad one day. And some guys just don't want to be dads. I knew that I would be a fucking great dad. And I am one. Some women don't want to be mothers. That's your prerogative. I don't care. But don't disrespect the women that are raising kids, because raising kids is not fucking easy. Because like you said, Enzo, every single day, not raising a kid that doesn't become a fucking Columbine statistic or something, or shoots up a fucking school, or just does something insane. Raising kids is a hard job.
Yeah. And you feel partly responsible for that shit too, because it's like not cool.
I mean, on my dad's side, like parenthood in general is just a badge of honor. My great grandparents had 12 kids in a 2-bedroom house. My grandma did secretary work a little bit for the most part. For the most part, my grandpa ran a gas station while she was home with 4 kids. My dad being the youngest, who was definitely a surprise given the age gap between him and my aunt. And I mean, with 4 kids, she's got, God knows, I've lost track of how many grandkids and great grandkids that aren't me in the family, because they just keep on coming. But mostly because my cousins have recently discovered the very thing that Enzo's friends have.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the things I didn't talk about that in my Barbie review because I'll make it 20 minutes long. But I've said this on the internet the past 10 years that, you know, I wish more people would listen to your parents and grandparents' generation. My grandfather was in fucking, you know, he had some WW2 shit going on. He was a drill sergeant and he was Chris before. I met your grandmother. He had some PTSD shit. He was homeless. He was a fucking bum. And he goes, your grandmother saved my life. And your grandmother, I mean, my God, the way he would look at this fucking woman. And the sad part is my grandfather had diabetes. He had health problems. He died and stuff, and she lasted 12 years without him. And by all accounts, I can tell people one thing: had my grandmother died first, my grandfather, he wouldn't have lasted a fucking month without her. He was so codependent on this fucking woman. Yes, he was working 75 hours a fucking week, but when he got home, she fucking waited on him hand and foot. But that's the thing for both you guys is she waited on him hand and foot, and she enjoyed doing it. She enjoyed helping her husband, pleasing her husband. She never one time thought that taking care of her husband was some kind of like disrespect towards women. No, she recognized the fact that this man's working 6 fucking days a week, 15-hour fucking days to put food on the table. What is wrong with that?
Yeah, I was talking about it with my mom literally today. Like, she got her a copy of her birth certificate from like 73 years ago. And she's talking about how, like, yeah, my grandma, it was her 3rd child at 19, you know, and then she had like fucking 6 more kids after that. It's crazy.
I mean, yeah, shit, I was just losing track. But what Chris was saying about his grandparents, it explains a hell of a lot as to why my grandpa's lasted 50 some years with my grandma. Because this is one thing that I can't stand about the whole, the matriarchy would be better than the patriarchy. And I'm just sitting there going, well, me and my grandma on my dad's side, she is just as ultra conservative as the Trump stereotypes. Like, both sides of my family are matriarchies. My mom's side is ultra left. My grandma is ultra conservative and my aunt is moderately conservative, but everybody else is either left wing or centrist. And everybody behind their backs, my grandma's the butt of the joke with just how manipulative and controlling that she is. But I mean, my grandpa had to flee Poland during World War II because somehow the Soviets managed to do a shittier job at occupying than the Nazis, which I did not think was possible. But just goes to show how communism is a failure in every conceivable way. But I mean, I have to be honest, I don't think anybody in my family would be who they are if my grandparents hadn't got together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of what I was going back with the there's no Asian Barbie. There's the thing is, which is ironic because, you know, like I said, Barbie was made by a bunch of Chinese little factory dolls, factory girl workers. But the point is, like, there's all these, you know, diverse Barbies. There's a fat one. There's a wheelchair Barbie. They're all Barbie, and it's like, okay. But what's funny is all the Kens are Chads. All the Kens are athletic. All the Kens are like, you know, even so, you know, so that I thought that was funny. Kind of ironic.
Yeah, critical. But they're also fucking stupid too.
Right? No, exactly. It's like, and again, it's like you could interpret it as, well, this is what stupid little girls think. You know, this is what they think the world's like. But what was funny is, like, once Ken becomes a Chad, once he becomes in love with the patriarchy, what does he do? He goes back to Barbie Land. He makes it equal. The men were second-class citizens, you know. He makes it, you know, to where now they have equal say. They pair off. You know, before the two Kens, the Shang-Chi Ken, Shang-Chi Ken, and Ryan Gosling Ken, they were like enemies. But once Ken comes back with the Kendom, they're all friends now. They're all having beers, and also just the idea of like all the beers in this movie. That was when I first started really being like, this movie's not for kids. Like, we're here like handing out beers everywhere.
I think that's the hit part. The thing is, with a film like Barbie, for those of us who have more than fucking 4 brain cells, that if this was all satire, if this was a joke, I could support that because it's like Blazing Saddles. Everyone knows Blazing Saddles for what it is. You look at Tropic Thunder, you know what it is. But the problem is these women who are writing this shit and this director Greta, in her fucking sick mind, she feels like, okay, in the real world, all fucking women have to bow down to men, be subservient to
Right.
men. This is why when Ken comes back now, because you know when Ken comes back now, all the fucking Barbie dolls are serving all the men just
They're
like
all-
the real world. And I'm like, lady, if you think that's how the fucking real world works in your feminist fucking mind, that women sit around all day and make us sandwiches and bow to our every fucking needs, like you have not met my sisters. Because trust me.
Right, but that is what all men would actually like, though. That is what the the fictional men universe would be like,
Yeah.
somewhat. I mean,
What if,
we'd give the women some kind of autonomy, but no, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But
that's
no,
good.
but the thing is with Greta Gerwig, I think, like I said, I really think it's like Paul Verhoeven doing Starship Troopers. I mean, I love Paul Verhoeven, I love the movie, but the guy is kind of an idiot because he's literally trying to portray a fascistic, terrible, horrible society, and he accidentally portrays like one of the coolest, like most based, actual, like kind of realistic idea of what a utopian society could look like, assuming we had finite resources.
Yeah.
You know, because Star Trek, the big thing with Star Trek is there's replicators.
Yeah.
So we have no more, there's no more scarcity issues. So world peace kind of just happens. But with Starship Troopers, they kind of paint a, kind of unflinching, realistic depiction of what it would look like if we were all just kind of got our shit together as a society. And it was a little brutal and unflinching, but God damn it, when you think about it, it actually works. And there's actually, like I said, no fascism present in the movie. Whereas like Barbie, again, there's like lots of these ideas of feminism and what it's supposed to be like, what the real world is supposed to be like. But you have to understand, it's all in the mind of that fucking fucked up lady. Yeah. She's the one driving the whole movie, and also her daughter, who's a fucked up Zoomer. The idea is, like, she's portrayed. I don't think that she was portrayed in a positive light. Like, if they tried to, they failed. And it's one of those things where, like, Greta Gerwig, she may be trying to make this feminist movie, but she may have accidentally made like a kind of anti-feminist movie because, think about Barbie. She's the only, she's this bubbly ray of sunshine, and this little Zoomer bitch is makes her cry, just like breaks her down because she's a little shit.
Yeah, I forgot the chick's name, the older mom there. When she did the whole unbrainwashing of the Barbies, every time she talked, I just wanted to walk out, but I had to finish the film. Like, because that's how they see things. Oh, like, you can't be thin, but you can't be fat. You can't be assertive, but be bitchy. It's like, no, we're just talking about, like, listen, there is, like I said, my girlfriend the past few months, she's gained like 6 pounds. I don't care. There's one thing having curves versus being 600 fucking pounds, lady. There's one thing being assertive versus being an asshole. There's just it's the extremes.
Here's kind of one of my main points is, and I agree with Cherie, like the biggest problem is nobody in the last 30 years has had to suffer. No real hardships, way too much time on their hands and to find something to complain about, or at least people in the Western, first world worlds. Not counting like Africa and some of these other, places right now, but yes. And everyone goes everyone has turmoil and hardships in their lives, like family issues. People die, people break up, people get sick. That's something we've all dealt with since the beginning of time. But those are down considerably when you compare it to like medieval times. Like every day you knew someone that was like dying or something.
That's the thing. I would say, because Tyler mentioned earlier Ben Shapiro. I seen one time Ben was breaking down it. I always said, love or hate Ben, he does break down facts. And he said this, what modern Americans complain about, guys, every fucking 5-year-old in this country has one of these. Air conditioning, every fucking, like almost 99.9% of people have air conditioning.
Yeah.
We have internet, cable TV. Do you really want to break down America in the 40s, 50s, the 80s, what the shit we had to go through?
Yeah.
We are right now, 2023 by all accounts, are the most fucking spoiled goddamn generation ever. Because like I said, look at the beaches in Normandy, look at fucking Vietnam. When was the last draft America had? Come on.
I mean, they talk about floating another one, and it's like, bring it on. We need one.
Especially and right now in America, we obviously, this is the most overweight and obese country on the fucking planet.
Mexico is actually fatter,
Really?
or we go back and forth. Mexico's pretty fat too.
But that's a fuck point. But like,
they like that. They like how that Coca-Cola with real sugar.
Films like Cinderella, man. Like, how many people were actually starving to death in this country? Now we have shows like the 1 Ton Sisters. So it's like people.
Yeah,
I would
seeing a 600-pound man was like a once in a lifetime type thing back in the day. Now it's like there's a whole show about dozens of them.
But this is
They're all in Houston.
We have people. That's why people hate me when I talk about Twitch gaming and shit and on TikTok and like, my biggest struggle was I had to do Twitch all day and the internet went down. I want to commit suicide Oh no, you had to go 12 hours without the fucking internet.
Well,
Oh, God, for God's sakes!
I said it in my Barbenheimer video, like, and I meant it. This is the most fucking important time and exciting time to ever possibly be alive. It's the best possible time to ever be alive, ever. Period. Like, do not be afraid of, like, the scary changes up ahead. And that's the thing about my Barbenheimer video. It was like, I even talk about the movies. I was just trying to be a little real, a little tinfoil hat time. But I do think these movies, they had a lot in common, and we'll get into that at the end of the movie. But like, kind of what Cherie was saying about, like, because everyone's complaining, everyone has something to complain about. And all these fucking dumb women complaining about nonsense, all these people asking for more rights. But right now, rights. Everyone has the same rights. What are trans rights? What are gay rights? Like, what rights do gay people not have that I have? Explain. There's rights. There's human rights. People have their rights.
I have a friend of mine who's from Pakistan.
Everyone's rights are the same.
And we talk, and some of the stories she tells me, even 2023, anybody can look up. You guys go look up fucking Pakistan and India and look at the way they treat their fucking women. Like, even Bill Burr said that, man. He goes, the fucking American white woman, holy shit.
Right. Well,
when Bill Burr is breaking apart fucking American white women and how much they complain about, like, sweetheart, spend 5 minutes in the fucking different country.
Well, the other side of that coin, and this might be, this is a little touchy subject, but it's like, I'm not really happy with, like, I wouldn't say not happy is the right word, but it's just like, definitely, like, thinking the blowback on the Barbie movie right now is a little like kind of back to Tyler's Oppenheimer review. It's a little overblown. Like, the idea, like, okay, it wasn't a good movie, I didn't like it, fine. But this idea that it's like the worst thing, worse than Little Mermaid. It's like, come on, dude. That Little Mermaid movie fucking sucked. The Barbie movie was at least, like, watchable on an aesthetic fucking filmmaker level, but also, like, the movie wasn't terrible. It didn't enrage me. Russ was definitely pissed off, and I was hoping he'd be on the stream. But
we see my review.
Yeah, it's just one of these things where, like, surface level reviews. The Critical Drinkers review I saw was like a lot of kind of just standard. I don't know. I feel like you can hate on the movie, but, like, I just don't think it merits this much vitriol.
Here's the thing. I don't think the movie is the worst example of all of these movies, like Little Mermaid or Captain Marvel or hell, the Black
Those were worse.
Or
those were bad movies. Those were terrible movies.
Or the Black Christmas remake, which even woke people can't stand because even they know that it makes them look stupid. It's really just how much more movies like this can we take, and for how much longer can audiences actually put up with this shit? I think it's just more.
I really also think it's like the times we live on. It just shows how everything is being, politicized. Everything is building towards some kind of event.
And that's kind of when I get to a non-review. That's kind of what I want to talk about. It's not really that the movies themselves are that bad, but they're a chore to get through just because, one, it's clear as day that it's your opinion that matters more than the actual story and the characters. And the one thing is, as much as these people say, oh, we're like making a voice for, BIPOC, for women, for trans, and I'm just sitting there going, no, you're taking people who would be your allies, who 3 or 4 years ago were asking for the same shit that you did, and you're saying you're still the problem even though you're supporting us. You're literally alienating people when you should be reaching out to them as much as you can. Because I can honestly say, after stuff like Captain Marvel and Bros and shit like that, like, I look at actors, I look at people in real life with more disdain than I used to, and I feel like shit for it, but I'm also just sitting there thinking, you guys objectively think that I'm a bad person based on some stupid presumptions that half the time aren't even true. Like, what do you expect me to do? If you put out something like Black Christmas and Captain Marvel and you hate it, and then you attack the person for not liking it, saying, well, you wouldn't understand, you're a man. And I'm just sitting there going, well, after you said that, why would I want to understand it? Why would I want to listen to you or be in the same room with you? Like, you guys realize that it's having the opposite effect. It's making people more resentful and bitter, and they're not even aware of it.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say that's a Shari. Like I do agree with that to an extent, but there have been articles where like how many female soccer teams or female high school
yeah,
students
they're pushing back. They're starting to push back, and that's what I
there
said.
are a lot of women pushing back against
I've
that
said
shit.
it before. It's like there's so much we can do on behalf of like the ladies. The
Mm.
ladies have to start speaking up for themselves. You know what I
Yes,
mean? The ladies are the,
I've
like
I've
you
seen
see the video
TikToks.
of the guy in the dress with a boner in the women's room, like filming the girls.
Yeah.
You've seen that, and it's like as a man, I see that, and I'm like, well, I've said we all know that we're against this shit. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
But like the ladies have to be the ones to say something. They have to start speaking up on their own halves.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where like we've already spoken up on your behalf and you're not fucking listening. So
I mean,
we'll just wait until it gets to everyone has their breaking point, you know, where they realize like, okay, wait, I see where they're coming from. I see what their arguments earlier were saying. I see why they mean what they meant when they said this would happen. You know, like
that's what Tyler was saying, and you're right though, because when sometimes they say, "Okay, you're not a woman," I'm like, "Okay, I'm not a woman," but I mean, maybe because I'm the only boy in the family with three badass sisters. My sister Jamie's like, Chris, I don't want to see a fucking guy like Ryan Gosling pussified Ken. I want to see Chris Hemsworth in Extraction too. I want to see fucking John Wick. And
well,
maybe
do
that's my
have
sister. You know?
What's his name? Chinese John Cena as a mermaid Ken. And Ryan Gosling, God bless him. He, like I said, I want to talk about it more later, but he's the best part of the movie, ironically and unironically, you know, as an actor and as a character.
Yeah.
Like,
what's the point that I'm saying? Like, there's some females out there still want to fucking a guy to be like a pussy and a cuck. Like my sister said, she was Chris. A lot of us women want to see Jason Statham. A lot of us women still want to see Schwarzenegger. We want to see Chris Hemsworth. It's like Robert Pattinson isn't the ideal man for a whole generation of females.
There was 5 old ladies sitting right behind me the whole Barbie movie, and they were definitely like talking to each other the whole movie, which, you know, they were doing it quiet and I didn't really care, but definitely like a lot of parts where like Ken's just standing there with his shirt open and they're like, oh, he's so gorgeous, he's so hot, he's so good looking. My God.
Well, no, like, he's definitely good looking, but it's one of the guys where they would get bored of that guy in 5 seconds, because the problem is a guy like that, he's not the one that's going to fucking defend your house when somebody breaks in.
I don't know, man. You've seen Drive. You can. I think Ryan Gosling.
Well, I mean, I'm saying, but the Ken this movie.
Yeah. No. I mean, he was definitely, like I said, it's a little girl's idea of what a man is. Yeah. He's just like, the idea is like, I don't. What do we do? Why do you want to spend the night? I don't know. Also, the idea is like, men. The idea is to a 6-year-old, 7-year-old girl, there's a Barbie doll and all of her accessories. Ken is one of those accessories. He's just an accessory you can also accessorize. But it's only until you get older that you realize, and that was one of my main criticisms of this movie, is the girl's father, the main woman's husband.
God,
like it's under the like you're under the impression that they're like not together.
They're not even a couple. A pink cup.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wearing. I'm rocking my red usually.
I should have used my mom's portable pink wine glass. It literally has a lid.
I'm on a budget. Walmart, fuck, these are $2 glasses. This fucking pink cup was 50 cents.
No. I'm saying you guys plowed through this better than I did.
Okay,
I own a few pink shirts.
You know, on sale, fucking polo shirt, $5. Like, hey,
pink looks good on you. When you got dark hair and dark features, I mean, pink looks good on you, man.
Hey, I was considering wearing my sister's pink Leafs jersey.
I mean,
like I did my BlackBerry.
You're a ginger, so you would need pink. Might not look as good. Oh, you're not redheaded, but you are fair-haired, hazel-haired, I'd say, right? What color's your hair? What color? It's light brown. I have a dark brown hair.
That's the same fucking thing. Oh, whatever.
Maybe wearing fucking pink boxers. Oh.
But I think Tyler would look better on with dark colors, darker shirts, darker. Maybe I don't know.
Got that face and beard to him, you know.
Fashion boys.
Hey man, I had to suit the shirt and the hat for my Oppenheimer review, I look great. I look great in black and white.
Dude, I had a friend who was on Queer Eye.
Really?
And he was on Queer Eye, and he also lost a shitload of weight and got all styled, and now he's killing it.
Now, Enzo has 2 voices. He has the gay guy voice and fuck Mr. Hanky.
I also got my Jason Statham. Why won't you die? You son of a bitch. I I got a few voices. I don't
You
know.
you were close on that one.
I definitely have like the South Park. Yeah, for sure. I
Oh,
talk more
oh,
like Terrence and Philip.
dude,
Hey
we got
guys.
we got to backtrack. When you did your fucking oh shit, I came drunk. Dude. Your one video, the reaction video to Little Mermaid, Batman, you sound just like every fucking South Park character. I was laughing so
Oh,
hard.
Flash, the Flash movie. Yeah,
Yes, God.
yeah. Thank you. I was,
He-
I
he's on his
record all my
phone.
videos on the fly. I don't put as much effort in them. I understand.
Hey,
Um,
I'll admit that was
Dude,
just doing that whole skip was such a good idea.
I showed my son, my girlfriend
you.
for Enzo's video. We were fucking. My son was laughing his ass off.
I
Get off-
definitely
Really?
I put so much
Get off-
work in my
get
stupid
off your-
Barbenheimer
Get off
video.
your fucking phone.
I put so
Dude.
much work in my Barbenheimer video, and then Wes was just like, "The music's too loud. Hate it." I was just like, "Okay."
Dude, how long?
I re-uploaded it and I lowered the music a little bit. You want to give it a like? Hard pass, bro.
I was upset about that because as I'm doing it, I text you just double check, but I'm like, I know Enzo's smart enough where, dude, you're it's
Well,
the
to be honest, I only lowered the music in the first half because I kept the
Yeah.
music the same volume. I had already lowered it in the second half because the
But
music gets a lot
as soon as
louder.
I'm watching, I'm like, this son of a bitch is fucking. Like, it's such genius that you caught that. But I decided to double check. I trusted you, but I'm like, I know for a fact that
The
Enzo.
music, like I said, we'll talk about Oppenheimer later,
Yeah.
but yeah, the music's the best part, and the music is
And
super loud, but it's
I
not too
love
loud where you
Wes.
can't understand what everyone's saying.
I love
And
Wes when you see this. Wes, like you missed the joke. That was the joke of Oppenheimer.
well, it doesn't. Yeah, I think the thing about Wes and a few others, like they like their review videos to be that review videos.
Oh no,
And they all seem to have this formula, and definitely like Russ excels at it. Russ is really good.
Yeah.
Some of these guys like prefer to have videos with no music because sometimes they listen to fucking YouTube with music playing in the background and shit.
The joke of but Nolan is notorious for guys. Nolan has a big fucking not just us. Like with Nerdrotic, FNT, Nolan has a lot of fucking problems. Like how many times the Bane voice had to be fucking changed like 5 times.
Yeah.
Like,
Nolan, honestly, he's a sloppy filmmaker, and I want to talk about all about that. And because it's funny because I'm gonna praise. I'm gonna be praising Barbie a little bit more than I should, and I'm going to be dissing Oppenheimer a little bit more than I should. But I did love Oppenheimer. Don't get me wrong.
You're not the first person to say that about Nolan being sloppy. I mean, that was one of the first things.
He shoots first and edits later. He's one of those guys that he shoots the camera.
Well, that was the first thing I said about.
I don't know that movie, Wes.
That's a good one. Fat Man and Little Boy.
Shit, I gotta watch it now.
I saw that advertised like at the end of my video, but yeah, the camera work was one of the first things I took a shot at, and I'm just sitting there going, he films the most crucial scenes in the most generic, boring way, where it's just a shot and a reverse shot, and I'm just sitting there going, okay, even the directors who try to look invisible, they still plan it out. It's still meticulous. I use Tarantino as an example because he throws so much style into it that you get used to it and you don't even pay attention anymore just because it's that fun.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is with like I remember criticizing Batman Begins when that first came out. It's like, why is no shot longer than 2 seconds long? Like every fucking 2 seconds the camera has to cut. There's literally no long shots. Where it's like, I've been rewatching these old or watching for the first time some of these old Brian De Palma movies, and these like long tracking shots, they build the suspense like no one's fucking business, but they take a lot of effort to choreograph and figure out and plot. And Chris Nolan, yeah, he tries to like film it like he's doing a documentary of a play, you know?
That's the excuse everybody gives. It's just well, realistically, we wouldn't have time to plan it out. You're not realistically planning it out. We know it's fucking fake. Like, just acknowledge that.
It's a lot of and just like Barbie, like that's the one thing I gotta hand that movie. Just from the trailers, you knew like a lot of meticulous planning going on here. A lot of so many inside jokes. If you're big into Barbie, which I'm not, but like apparently every fucking costume she wears is like when she's a giant woman on the beach, 2001. That is literally the swimsuit that the first Barbie wears. The hair. It's like everything is like a callback to the Barbie. Alan's a real thing. Yeah. There's an Alan doll that was like before Ken.
It's like the hot take.
Maybe you guys agree. Yeah. I think Nolan's smaller films are better. No, I definitely walked out of Oppenheimer thinking that was good. Prestige was better. Prestige is still his best movie. I definitely think Prestige is his best. Followed by, I mean, I do like obviously the Batman movies, and I want to hard to count those as like 3 separate movies. I definitely think Batman Begins I've liked more over time.
I think I prefer the Begins the best. I think the Dark Knight
Yeah.
is actually kind of overrated.
It's
I'm
definitely like,
there.
I mean, it is great and fantastic, but yeah, they say it's the best thing ever, which is overrated.
And my own reason is because I would say anybody, like, listen, as much as Zack Snyder, say what you want, watch the warehouse scene in fucking BVS. Show me any one good goddamn fight scene in the Dark Knight. Seriously, considering this guy knows every fucking martial art on the planet, where's the fight scenes in Dark Knight?
Yeah, the editing, like I said, he was definitely going for heat. He's doing the heat thing, which is one of my favorite movies. But there's stuff about the dark. There's aspects of the Dark Knight that are the best ever. Most of them involving the Joker.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's definitely a good movie. But like people said, in terms of like fucking combat, though, Affleck was fucking. That's how Batman fights, man.
Well, when I look back on the trilogy, like I think Batman Begins is the most Batman-y of the Batman movies.
Truth be told, I think for me, Begins, and like you said, even we talk about other channels, Nerdrotic. Even Gary said, you know what, guys, I'm a big comic book fan. He goes comic accuracy. He goes, Affleck is still the most comic accurate Batman we've ever seen, and I tend to. I mean, in terms of physicality and how big fucking Affleck is.
Appearance wise, maybe, sure. I mean, but like in terms of like murdering fucking countless people, I don't know. Man. That's one of those things I go back and forth on. Keaton Batman, the Affleck Batman, they are definitely like balls to the wall. I do like the idea of, you know, the what's it named? The God damn it, the show. God damn it. What's his name?
What show?
Adam West. The Adam West Batman, the quirky, I mean, obviously that sucks.
Yeah.
But like the idea of like
I think it's
tying up your villains and leaving them for the police to pick up. Like that's the kind of shit that I like Batman doing.
People tend to forget Batman did kind of an overhaul because he was initially kind of campy like Adam West, and that was the initial few decades of Batman.
Nolan might, I don't agree. I think
Nolan might be the most overrated director of all time. Who do you think is the most overrated?
No, it's Scorsese.
Ooh, whoa, that's a hot take. I mean, definitely
Scorsese does not show. He narrates. It is fucking excruciating how many movies of his I can't stand.
I agree. I mean, the thing is with Goodfellas. Here's the thing: it's like people like fresh movies. So like Goodfellas was fresh with the voiceover narration done in a right way, and then back to like Nolan movies. Like his movies are formulaic in the Nolan way, but like he's still doing something fresh with his movies. Sometimes it doesn't really work as well as others, but like, yeah, I agree with like he is using narration on all of his movies now. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I'm slightly looking forward to Killers of the Flower Moon, even though it looks like it's gonna take the woke approach to how just in portraying
the white man poisoned the natives for their land,
which is interesting because in my opinion, well, yeah, it did, but that's the thing. Like, it's not surprising anymore. Like some of the best stuff I've seen involving Indigenous First Nations people are when like different tribes are at war with each other. Like the most popular Canadian movies, anyways, about First Nations or Indigenous people are when they're at odds with each other, and that's because that was all they had to fight against each other. And it just goes to show that violence and hatred exists literally in every demographic there is.
I mean, Tyler, it's something I don't play upon too much because it's not my identity, but my father was technically speaking, by all accounts, full-blooded Mohawk Indian, and our reservation is called Akwesasne. It's in New York State. I do have a tribal status card, and technically speaking, I am half native. But
okay, let me.
Yeah, but he's right. Every one of these movies is narrated, though. He's right. I didn't realize this.
Let me address this, Wes. I like The Departed because it keeps the narration to like the first 10 minutes tops. I've never seen Casino all the way through, but the parts I have seen, I've enjoyed. Goodfellas is good. Taxi Driver, I don't know why. It doesn't do anything for me, and I think it's just because... Maybe it's just... Well, here's the thing. It's good, but like the parts that don't age well are really apparent.
No, I mean, I agree. Like, I think Martin Scorsese is a master. I love all his movies, but damn it, I'd never really... Yeah, you're right, Tyler. He does cop out a lot on the voiceover.
Sorry.
My favorite.
Let Chris finish his point.
Sorry. No, I was just trying to say because I agree with Tyler though, because in my lifetime, I'm 40 years old. That my dad would say this stuff that guys, read a history book. Like, yes, no doubt the white man fucked up the Indians, but like if you look at history and read books and stuff, let's not pretend for a second that like the Apaches weren't like fucking murdering Mohawk babies and the Algonquins. And like, for argument's sake, guys, there's no fucking race of human beings that were peaceful. Native Americans were just as fucking brutal as every other race of people in
Japanese.
history. The only difference is
the Japanese
it's like
later.
they lost the fucking fight, but they were just as goddamn brutal. Come on, different tribes were fucking raping each other's fucking elders and women's. They were come on, these guys were cutting each other's heads off and stuff. They were eating kids. Like there is a lot of dark history with Native American culture.
Americans were living in a peaceful utopia until we showed up and ruined
exactly.
all that.
It's
I will say this: I'm slightly optimistic that Flower Moon can at least be fair in showing that when the Osage fought back, they were just as brutal. Because I mean, the trailers do make it look like this is some of Scorsese's best action in regards to how many people are shot, all the shit that just explodes all over the place, and I'm just sitting there going, you know what? I actually hope this doesn't get delayed by the strike. I actually hope that they do put it out in theaters. They probably will, just because Scorsese's name and DiCaprio in a theater probably would be enough to sell tickets.
Yeah, but back to like Nolan being overrated, it's like maybe in a few decades we can tell if he's actually truly overrated. But right now he is doing like, he's like Spielberg in the heyday or Scorsese. There's a point where like a director's like the hot shit, and anything he makes is like like Quentin Tarantino. He's still on that. He's always been on that. But the idea of him like he wants to retire after 10 movies, which is like Chris Nolan said, it's like that's very like cinematic, like filmmaker purism. Like he doesn't want any blows under his belt. He wants to just have 10 solid hits, and Nolan respects that. But the idea is like Nolan, he's one of these guys where it's like, dude, if I'm making these critical and box office hits and these studios are willing to give me this money, then I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to try to make these ambitious projects. And here's the thing. What I respect about this is so crazy, back to like more self-deprecation and stuff like that with Warner Brothers, dude. First of all, here's the thing. Warner Brothers, Chris Nolan used to be the Warner Brothers golden child. All right. And then he wanted to make these more like, historical dramas. And they were like, pushing back. Was it Tenet or was it Dunkirk? One of these movies.
It was Tenet, where I think that was the last straw, just because they marketed it and released it against his strategy, as far as I know. Because I think he wanted to wait until people wanted to go outside more, but of course, because there was so much hype over it already, Warner Brothers is just like, no, we don't want to wait any longer. And I think that was what severed ties with him.
I wonder too if, like, because I listened to today actually the Drinker on Russell Brand, and Russell Brand is Drinker about like difference between American, like how cinema has changed. He said, obviously 80s was about the big brilliant guys like Arnold and Stallone. The 90s were changing to like it, and Drinker was breaking down every era, like how different different action movies would change. So perhaps guys like Spielberg and Scorsese, they could be a product of their time, because I don't think Spielberg is the same director in 2023 as he was in 1981.
No. Every filmmaker has their heyday, and then their movies start to like maybe either decline, or they just start making more like
because that's
smaller movies.
It's like if Wes was arguing with Tyler about Scorsese, perhaps Scorsese, the 70s, 80s, and 90s were like a lot of mafia stuff, but in 2023, a lot of mafia shit doesn't play anymore, because mafia is not a big. It's been so done that mafia films nowadays just don't. It's like westerns. Westerns just don't have the impact they did back in the 50s and 60s.
If you were trying to tell me after, fucking 1999, or even after The Departed, that like Martin Scorsese was overrated, I think you'd get a lot of like, no way. But like now, 20 years later, after like some of his more recent movies, you're kind of like, maybe. I don't know.
Well, like, here's the thing.
I mean, he's maybe overrated, subjective, but the most overrated. I don't know about that.
Well, here's the thing. Like with Scorsese, he has his formula, his true crime stories, Goodfellas, Wolf of Wall Street, Irishman. And like Wolf of Wall Street and Irishman, I can't stand, just because I think the formula that he has, where you voice over and montage like the great rise and fall of the criminal.
It's like the idea like they're talking on an interrogation tape, which was fresh with Goodfellas, but now it's stale, And
it was
like Nolan,
Goodfellas and Casino, in my opinion, are like the movies where that formula hit their peak. And like with Irishman especially, there were so many with Irishman especially, there were so many characters in the background. I forgot we're there. They don't speak. You barely remember their names. When you look them up on Wikipedia, their stories are far more interesting to the point where you wonder why Scorsese couldn't do this as a miniseries. I mean, he did fucking Boardwalk Empire. He's no stranger to TV, and it's not like he can't do it.
What you said about all these characters, I feel like Nolan's Oppenheimer did the same thing, but it was a cool thing. You know,
not well, it was at first for me, but after a while I realized so many of these characters spend like 1 or 2 minutes in a room with Oppenheimer, say 1 or 2 things, and then you forget that they're there. I mean, everybody's making a big deal about
how it is in real life, you know.
Yeah, but let me it's not interesting.
Gary Oldman stole the fucking movie for me.
I was kind of let down by that, to be honest.
But we'll get into that later. But the point is, just back to like, these little God, what was the tangent there? Fucking. Yeah.
Well, in terms of like directors, every director has their styles. It's Zack Snyder, Spielberg, and fucking George Lucas, Nolan. So it comes down to, is a director overrated, like Wes would say, or Tyler says it's not overrated. Nolan has a style, and I'm not sure his style though doesn't work.
This movie was very Nolan style, like non-sequential storytelling, black and white. He loves to shoot in black and white. Also, black and white on IMAX.
I think that the best, the quote unquote, the best directors, they can do more than just, it's like actors, right? Some actors, it's like everyone knows what Arnold does, everyone knows what The Rock does. They're not considered great actors because they're good at one thing. Same thing as directors. Some directors, they can fucking just direct one kind of film, whereas other directors, they can direct every kind of genre. That's why we talked about Tom Cruise for 5 hours. Tom Cruise can fucking act in any genre. He's not just a one-note actor. So in all fairness,
like Spielberg can do whatever genre that he wants. I mean, with West Side Story, West Side Story was his first musical, and he directed it like he had been doing that for half of his career. And like I think I'm the only person here who saw The Fabelmans.
I do.
I thought it was nice. Fun,
and here's the thing. Just based on Fabelmans, I don't think Spielberg has lost his directive touch. No. I think it's the stories that he's telling that just aren't up to par with him.
That's true.
But it's also like, dude, Spielberg, like so much of the stuff that, I mean, I don't know how much credit goes to Janus, his cinematographer, but like those two are in sync, man. Like that guy, his cinematographer that he's been using since like the 90s, the guy who did the cinematography for Vanilla Ice's movie, he is a goddamn genius. Yeah, he did Cool as Ice. He did Cool as Ice and Schindler's List in the same year.
I remember watching Cool as Ice too.
He didn't do the cinematography for Jurassic Park though. Jurassic Park was cool because Jurassic Park was filmed in letterbox, not widescreen.
I love that Enzo knows every fucking movie from the 90s I forgot about, but I still back in my mind, but
yeah, no, exactly. Like what I gotta say, Wes was saying something about how Nolan movies don't have very rewatchability. But The Prestige is the most rewatchable movie of all time.
Well, I mean,
that's just one film, though.
No, exactly, and I think the reason why it's rewatchability is kind of a cop out because he does this non-sequential storytelling. Yeah. So the first time you're watching the movie, you're always like, "What? Huh? What's going on?" You're like putting the pieces together in your mind. And Memento also is fantastic, but I mean that is a gimmick film. And the chronological edit of that movie is hilarious. But
I don't know. That's the one that I can rewatch just because you're always staring in the background looking for fuck off.
You're joking, Wes. You're joking, Wes, but I want you to look at I want you to watch Cool as Ice and notice how amazing it looks. Like it is shot so well. It looks just like a fucking music video.
Such a waste.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, it's one of these guys where he shows up to work and he went above and beyond. You know what I mean? The guy you can watch Cool as Ice. We should do a watch of Cool as Ice. The point is,
sign up.
Well, I mean,
you can seriously admire the inventive stuff that the director of photography did in that movie. It's very good.
Well, in Cool as Ice's case, I think it's kind of like the guys who got stuck making the 50 Shades trilogy. They worked their asses off to make it look and sound as good as it did because it's just in there. These cinematographers, these directors are just sitting there going, fuck, I want a career after this. I got to make this at least look palatable.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that I think both of these movies, the Barbenheimer movies, had in common was just like painstaking effort to the look and sound and feel of these movies, Oh, yeah, he wasn't being sarcastic, guys. Wes Kelly, Enzo, you don't have to sell it. Cool as Ice stays in my top 10. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if you were being sarcastic or not, but yeah, I agree. I think Cool as Ice is hilarious and rewatchable, and it looks great.
Fuck.
It's stupid as fuck too.
I would just like to point out Alejandro Inarritu's cinematographer, if we're talking like out of the box ones, he did Cat in the Hat.
Mm.
And you know what? That actually does kind of make sense the more you look back on that.
Yeah, can't be winners.
Word to your mother. Yeah. I just loved I love the whole like plot of the movie is like they're out riding their stupid racer bikes, these ridiculous colored neon colored motorcycles, and they're driving it through the country, and one of their bikes breaks down, so they pull over at some random like podunk like homeboy in a barn, some old redneck guy, and he's like, I'll fix your bikes. So then they're in the small town for a week or a few days, and Vanilla Ice just wreaks havoc by like stealing some dude's girl and disappointing her parents and all the shit, dude. It's insane.
Oh fuck! I can't watch that shit sober.
But I gotta say, again, back to like Barbenheimer, like both movies looked amazing. And if you're a director, if you were like I know one of Chris's criticisms of Oppenheimer was, the IMAX, not seeing it in IMAX, and I agree. Like I don't think you need to see it in IMAX, but I appreciate the fact that it was filmed in IMAX because, like you said, it's not IMAX. Usually IMAX is like big special effects. I understand like the vistas. The shots of the desert, I'm sure it looks very beautiful. Yeah. But like that doesn't seem necessary. But if you're a cinephile, if you're a big like photography junkie, then go see this movie on a big theater, because like the idea of like just like having an IMAX style, an IMAX size frame, and you're just filming a black and white close up of Cillian Murphy's face. Yeah, that's like, it seems like a waste. I appreciate the yeah, I appreciate. I knew you would get that one. In case people listen to this show and don't watch it, I apologize. Yeah, I'm sure these streams don't make a lot of sense because it seems like we talk about a bunch of random shit. Sometimes we cannot utter what the chats are saying. So
it's like it ends up like I tell people, it's like I have at least 30 fucking friends that like dude, if I'm gonna drop it, because standard movie ticket, and at least where I'm at, is $15. IMAX is $20. If somebody's gonna drop an extra $5 for IMAX, they want to see John Wick. They want to see Tom Cruise jumping off a fucking mountain. They don't want to see fucking wide shots of Christopher Nolan in black and white for fucking 15 minutes of talking.
It did feel like a giant waste. And in my video, in my video,
when you're spending $20 on a ticket, I agree. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Biden inflation is hitting us all.
And everybody watching this, it's like you can shit on, and everyone knows it. You can shit on Avatar 2 as much as you want. You cannot deny the fact that if you saw Avatar 2 in IMAX, it's a fucking beautiful goddamn movie.
Yeah, well, I saw the movie on a $6 ticket on our standard movie screen in a standard old school movie theater that I had been talking for the past 30 years how I miss. And I gotta say, like, it was like one of those things where, like, retroactively, as someone who paid $6 to see it on a standard screen, I'd be like, wow, it'd be pretty cool to see it on an IMAX, because like it'd be cool to see, like, like I said, I don't think I want to see Cillian Murphy's pores, but as a guy who does appreciate photography, I mean, I think, and cinematography, I think I would like to see that on IMAX. But like you said, if I was paying $25 a ticket to rush to go see it so I could make a fucking review about it, I would have been pissed off.
I had my friend drive me because I was drinking. I brought an entire fucking bottle of like blue vodka to see Avatar 2.
Bless his Regal. He has to pay a couple extra bucks.
It's like exactly. It's like Regal covers a standard fee, so I'm actually paying extra $4.
Yes, $4. Yeah,
exactly. But also not everyone has RPX. I've seen Avatar in RPX, and it's the biggest. The screen is 30% bigger. It comes with fucking like seats that roll back and forth, and it's 30% louder. And Avatar 2, the first 5 minutes I'm drinking, I'm like, you know what? This is fucking, from a technical standpoint, the most amazing movie I've ever seen. This is worth, love it or hate the storyline, from a technical aspect, this is worth the extra $5.
You're talking about 1 or 2 Avatar?
Avatar 2 when it came out.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Do you open the fucking?
I saw it on my TV, for the first time. I was like, shit.
When they're underwater, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like with Oppenheimer, like I totally appreciate and agree, and it's all valid criticism. Like this movie didn't need to be shot in IMAX, but it's impressive that it was. It's black and white, and it's a fucking historical biopic with like huge close-ups of dudes in like lecture halls.
Well, it seemed like the fucking Dark Knight. The Dark Knight had certain scenes in IMAX. I will support seeing the Dark Knight in IMAX, or Transformers in IMAX, or I saw Mission Impossible 7 twice in IMAX. That's worth seeing in IMAX.
Here's what maybe I'll be right retroactively. I'm going to say this on record just so I can see if I'm right or wrong. But like what I think is happening, kind of back to my Barbenheimer video, like the predictive programming is trying to suggest that we are approaching a new age. Both of these movies had the same, thorough line plot point. The world is changing forever. We can't go back. There's a point happening, a monumental event, and that's it. It's all leading to some kind of change forever. Kind of like how Endgame was like preparing us for COVID and stuff. I feel like Barbie and Oppenheimer might be doing the same thing. But here's the thing. Chris Nolan, I feel like the reason why he shot it all on IMAX, if what I'm saying is true, then the reason why he shot it all on IMAX is because he kind of subconsciously knew this might be the last time he gets to make like a super big budget movie like this. Yeah. And it's back to like what I was saying with Warner Brothers, though. Here's what's fucked up about Warner Brothers. Like I said, like he was the golden child for Warner Brothers, and I just looked it up. It was until this most recent movie. Like he wanted to make this Oppenheimer movie, and they're like, no. So he went to Universal. They told him you can do whatever the fuck you want here, dude. Well, and he made the movie for only $100 million, which is pretty low in today's standards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of that is just because some of the side actors took a pay cut. I mean, Emily Blunt
You're only in the movie for a scene too.
Yeah, which I made it clear that I was disappointed in how underutilized Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh were as his loved ones, considering with Florence Pugh, I didn't even understand the context of their relationship. It made absolutely zero sense to me.
I had emotion, Tyler. You could have taken her. You could have taken her out of the movie, and
I literally said that in my video, and like
Florence or Olivia?
Florence.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Olivia Furlby too, but that's a completely different story. But like back to what Enzo was saying about using IMAX just to literally film people talking and not much else. That did feel like a waste. But like the moments where Oppenheimer was doing his experiments and visualizing all the atoms and the molecules having the chain reactions, that was the reason to see it on IMAX. Like that was fucking beautiful. No.
Hear me out. Nolan reboot, Cool as Ice, DH, Vanilla Ice, shoot an IMAX. I got a better idea.
No.
A sequel. Fucking another 40-year-old sequel.
You know what? Fuck, I'll watch it.
If they did Cool as Ice 2 by Chris Nolan on IMAX, dude, with the same director of photography, John Hughes from Steven Spielberg,
I would see that. I would see that 4 times in the theater.
Here's the thing, having Chris Nolan collab with Steven Spielberg cinematographer. Imagine that. You know what I mean?
That'd be fantastic. Maybe for once Janice could keep the fucking camera still. But I mean, Josh and I, when we saw Beau Was Afraid, it was an IMAX theater, the very same one that we ended up seeing Mission Impossible in together.
What was that like in IMAX?
It was incredible because, I mean, part of it is Ari Aster films literally everything in as large a canvas as he possibly can, and partly for good reason. It technically serves the story in the fact that the main character sees anxiety. Wes, let me fucking finish, please.
That's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm the one pushing these buttons. I just like to pull them up whenever they come up.
Yeah, but
feel free to ignore it, and we'll address it later when you're done making your point. That's how we'll do these chats. Like it'll come up.
Oh yeah, you guys reading and laughing totally doesn't derail.
You're right. I will stop doing that. It's my fault. All right. Point taken.
If he didn't comment, you wouldn't have a reason to push those buttons in the first place. But
I could wait a few seconds.
But
You're right.
At least with Beau Was Afraid, I don't know what type of film he actually put it on. I think it was on IMAX just to sell more tickets, because Beau Was Afraid is technically A24's most expensive movie, and it's only $35 million. But seeing it on IMAX on the larger canvas, it still fits the story, because this main character sees anxiety literally everywhere he goes. And the bigger the image, the more the claustrophobia or whatever high intensity emotion that he's feeling does feel kind of amplified. And not only that, Beau Was Afraid technically combines a bunch of different genres. There are there's psychological horror, there's slapstick comedy. Maybe the best bit that Josh and I agreed that we both liked was the animation sequence, which was fucking breathtaking to look at on IMAX, where
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix is in this like Mary Poppins, bedknobs and broomsticks situation where he's the only live action aspect in this animated world, which again is like, it's something you objectively haven't seen in cinemas for years that I swear to God needs to come back. And if Disney puts out Wish this year, which I mean, it's their 100th anniversary, so they kind of have to put out something brand new, regardless of whether people are promoting it or not. If it's the half CG, half 2D hybrid that I'm hoping that it is, I'm not convinced that it is yet, but if it is, this can usher in like a revival of the old-fashioned type of movies that we used to go to the theaters when we were kids. I mean, Brad Bird announced years ago that he was trying to make a musical with Michael Giacchino that would have 20 minutes of animation. Can you imagine how fucking insane it would be to see a Disney musical that was live action animated and was fucking good? I mean, for me anyways, I don't think Brad Bird has really struck out. Like Tomorrowland had issues, but I don't think it was bad.
No,
no, I mean, I definitely was disappointed by it, and
the message got in the way of like the last third, but everybody agrees on that.
Well, to like everything Tyler was saying, this comes down to the endless debate of like, you know, what's considered good movies versus popcorn films. And I do think as moviegoers, we have to have popcorn films because, like I said, this year I'm not going to pretend that, like, you know, say John Wick 4, Sisu, or Fast 10 they're great movies, but compared, and Oppenheimer by all accounts is a better film. But if you ask me, Chris, do you want to watch Oppenheimer again or Fast 10? I'm gonna fucking watch Fast 10. It's just like, and that's I would agree that I haven't seen Beau Was Afraid, but from a technical standpoint, it may be a better film.
Dude, you should watch it because it is actually legitimately hilarious. If you're into dark humor,
oh no, I definitely want to watch it. Just right now, it's not in digital, and of course, and nobody like and on a side note,
actually, you know what, Chris, I have a digital copy that I can't use because I'm Canadian. So talk to me after the stream.
But like on a side note, like I mentioned,
ways
with
for you guys to watch anything, dude. You
with,
trust me.
the fucked up part, I actually checked my Regal app today, and I was saying this during Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom now, I checked today. Now all of a sudden, and I told this to Tyler and Sabenzo, that when I seen Sound of Freedom, it was only one theater was playing this. Now all of a sudden, there's four fucking malls that have like 5 showings a piece. And when I seen this shit 2 weeks ago,
capitalism wins again, baby.
One mall had 1 showing. Now 4 fucking malls have 5 showings a day of Sound of Freedom. What the hell changed in the past 2 weeks?
So. Well, here's what's also, I mean, people are demanding to see it, and people want to go see it. I mean, like I said, my theater has 4 screens, and it's got the big ones, Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, Barbie, but the 4th one, it could have done anything. What's on there? Sound of Freedom. And there were a bunch of people going to see the screening. And here's the thing, the conspiracy about, like, you know, all the movies like malfunctioning for Sound of Freedom. In hindsight, it seems like it's more like rogue employees who work at these movie theaters, because later it was revealed that I think it was either Regal or AMC, I can't remember, but most of these malfunctions were happening at these theaters. I want to say it was AMC. I may be wrong. It might have been Regal, but that
wouldn't surprise me. And
so but you find out in hindsight that it's because that theater had a specific deal with Sound of Freedom to play it on the movie theaters. And then when they found out about the malfunctions, they said they were going to definitely like up the screenings, increase it, because they were going to say, hey, you know, this isn't right. So it seems like there is just like crazy radical leftists working at these movie theaters who are like, I don't like this, I'm gonna pull the movie theater fucking fire alarm and stuff. That seems to be what's going on.
That wouldn't surprise me, but like what did surprise me is that the art house theater that Josh works at, they're showing Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
And they show the most basic independent movies that are all about feminism and LGBTQ rights, which, I mean, some of them are good. I mean, I saw Portrait of a Lady on Fire there, and the one time that I thought it was a flawless movie was when I saw it in that theater, and like the atmosphere, the environment, and just how beautiful it looked on a projection screen. That really just went to show. But when I saw Sound of Freedom there, I'm just sitting there going, there's no way Josh's coworkers were on board with this.
Well, there's also the problem with Sound of Freedom was like they had these cool like Janus, Steven Spielberg influenced shots, like I said in the Sound of Freedom stream, where it's like backlit characters in front of a smoky window with like a lot of like light pouring in, but they did it like over and over and over and over again. So it's like, okay, all right, it looks cool at first, but like we get it. Okay, so Lord of Texas is waiting patiently. FYI, I liked your Beau is Afraid review, Tyler. For the record, I prefer good story over scenery. Yes, Wes is very adamant about that.
Here's the thing. A good story technically is more important than scenery, but scenery can elevate the story sometimes. Not always, but sometimes.
Yeah, people love a good conspiracy theory TikTok trend, maybe. Well, no, I agree that the movie theater things were happening, and they were happening a lot to that movie, but I don't think it was like the Illuminati, like radioing in, like, make sure this doesn't work. The AMC people, whatever theater it was, were like, why? We have a deal with this fucking movie. You know, they made a partnership with us to play this movie. And the fact that it's like the sprinklers are going off or whatever is not good, you know?
Now, one thing I want to check for Tyler, like, then this is the point, you know, the constant endless debate about, you know, quality versus quantity. So I put in Google, Beau is Afraid budget and box office right here. It says, okay, Beau is Afraid, like Tyler said, is A24's most expensive movie with a budget of $35 million. Unfortunately, the movie made totally $11 million.
No, yeah.
It says by all accounts, it says right here, is Beau is Afraid a box office bomb? It's a certified box office failure. And now, by all accounts, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure Beau is Afraid is 10,000 times better than, say, Barbie. But Barbie just did $165 million over the box office.
But I would say they were both like equal compared to like I said, Barbie's good for what it is.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer is good for what it is.
Which is
Beau is Afraid is great for what it is.
Like Oppenheimer, by all accounts, it may come down to Oppenheimer may lose studios money. And this comes down to whether we like it or not, boys and girls, the bottom line is it's called, you know, Hollywood movie. You know, it's like a business. You know, it is a business. Nobody's going to give you $100 million, and the return is $20 million. It's like say Deadpool 1. Deadpool 1, they dump $50 million, they make $800 million. That's something that, you know, producers want to spend tens of millions of dollars to make money. Films like Beau is Afraid are fantastic films, I'm assuming by Tyler's recommendation, but they're losing money. It's like, you know, nobody wants to fucking invest into a failure. That's
Ari Aster is on this like kind of like he's the next big thing. So it wouldn't be surprising that A24 would give him this. I wouldn't be surprised if his next movie has a smaller budget. This movie definitely seemed more like a you know, all these movies, Greta Gerwig's Barbie, Oppenheimer, Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid. These all seem to be like masturbatory what's the word I'm looking for? These auteurs doing these kind of movies that are self-grandizing.
And they absolutely are. I mean, Beau is Afraid, whether you love it or hate it, everyone can agree that it's just self-indulgent.
Pretentious, self-indulgent, yeah.
Yeah,
but I was on board because I have a disgusting sense of humor. So, like, I was, like, laughing my ass off the first, like, 5 minutes. I was like, okay, this is insane.
Yeah, and that's
not for everybody. It's just like Barbie.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I think Chris and I can agree on is that no movie is for everyone. Like for as much as we complain to Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger, go back to making mainstream movies.
There's tons of idiots that love these dumb movies, and it upsets us because we're like, these movies are bad. Why do you like them?
It's a loose definition. Yeah. I mean, I grew up loving the first Pirates of the Caribbean. I never really cared for the sequels, and if I made it out to the re-release, which I didn't because it didn't come to my area, I would have had just as good a time as I did when I was 8. But even I have to admit, the first one has the exact same problems as the sequels. There are too many characters, there are too many storylines, too many rules that they keep breaking, but it was shorter and it was something that Disney hadn't technically done before.
So yeah, well, again, I mean, one of the things I liked about the Barbie movie was, like I said, the self-deprecation. Because like I was saying with Warner Brothers, like, it's fucked up because Universal Studios stole Chris Nolan. So what did Warner Brothers do? They had their big Barbie movie come out on the same day as his movie. I think they did that shit on purpose as a big fuck you. But again, it's one of these things where like competition breeds, you know, innovation. But like this was one of the parts that really stuck out with me was where like, you know, Warner Brothers viciously shits on the Snyder Bros. And I was like, yes, the Snyder Bros suck, you know? So like, what are they? This is the exact quote. It's like I've been in a dream. This, you know, because that's the idea. Is like, and this is one of those things that can be viewed as, you know, Chad feminism. The way that they break these girls out of their sleep, quote unquote, from the kingdom, is they have to like basically like project this one crazy lady's insecurities onto them, and it snaps them out of it. And it's like, well, how do we take the world back from the kingdom? Oh, I know. We'll use our like toxic femininity to get the kingdom to fight amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And then we'll just like steal the world back. Again, it's just a very like childish interpretation of what you know, it's like girls rule and boys drool type fucking attitude, which is like not the nuanced opinion that most like, you know, adult females have. But this quote especially was just like out of the blue. She's like wakes up from her brain sleep and it's like, I've been in a dream where I was somehow really invested in the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. This is a Warner Brothers movie. Like, I think I was the only one in the theater that was like looking around like, dude, does anyone like, you know, that was a pretty dark dig, you know? Just basically shitting all over Zack Snyder's movies and saying James Gunn is the future. Which, you know, agree or disagree, but like, again, Warner Brothers just making fun of itself.
I did like the Snyder cut.
I didn't.
I'm willing to bet it's better, but I don't consider
it isn't.
That. I don't.
I hated the Justice League movie, and I hated the Snyder cut more because it was like fucking just as bad, but an hour longer and black and white or whatever.
It was better because no fucking Henry Cavill mustache, and dude, the black suit Superman was fucking badass, man. Like, come on.
Yeah, the Henry Cavill mustache situation was awful. Obviously, that's one of those things where it's like. That will go down in history as like one of the most baffling, you know, that was like the beginning of the end right there. Or no, definitely like the sign of the true end times. And I really think like this Barbie Oppenheimer thing is like the death rattle of big Hollywood movies.
Well,
like this, these movies are both going to make some decent change.
I guess I can ask you guys both this then, since, you know, Oppenheimer and Snyder Cut, that I feel like some of the Snyder Cut and Oppenheimer, I've seen my review. I think Oppenheimer, most people, unless it's Lord of the fucking Rings, you know, it's like, I think Oppenheimer, that kind of storyline, I think that a better version is watch it in half-hour segments. It's better to digest. The Snyder Cut, when it came out, you know, it's a 4-hour fucking movie. Yeah. How many people fucking binge it?
Watch it again. No, I'm saying watch Oppenheimer again. I think it's one of those movies where we will start to like more. But I think it will reach a point where we've watched it enough times.
Well, it just kills me. Nowadays, people bitch that, okay, the Snyder Cut is 4 hours, is too fucking long. Okay, it's 4 hours too long. But you'll binge an entire season of...
Oh, I agree.
It's okay. They'll binge fucking 10 episodes of Stranger Things, which are 1 hour episodes. So you'll watch 10 hours of Stranger Things, but you bitch about a 4-hour movie.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people will just bitch about a 2-hour movie, and yet they'll watch an entire season of some show in the city.
When Snyder Cut came out, it was an HBO Max. My sister, my brother-in-law, my son, my nephew, we made it a fucking event. We watched 1 hour. We took a 5-minute break. Watched 1 hour. We all got fucking dinner, and then we came back. We made it into 4 1-hour segments. I think if Snyder Cut, if you break it down to 4 1-hour episodes, it's a way better storyline if you break it down into a mini series.
My problem is Henry Cavill Superman is like one of the most depressing, morose, ridiculous portrayals of Superman ever. And at least in the Justice League fucking Joss Whedon cut, they tried to like remedy that a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Snyder version, it's like he's even worse than ever. You know, it's just like, oh my god, dude.
Dude, come on. I saw fucking Steppenwolf just like he's like, not impressed. He beats the shit out of Steppenwolf.
No, I agree. Like his big entrance in the blue suit was better in the Snyder version. I'll concede to that. Yeah. But it's just like I don't give a fuck about these movies in general. So it's like all this effort to get me to care fucking 5% more. You know, I don't care.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you and Tyler, that, you know, I even the drinker for some time, like, you know, I feel like some storylines are not everything is made to be a movie. It's like we could debate up the Harry Potter books. I think that to make the true they're supposedly rebooting Harry Potter books. I would say that every Harry Potter book, to get the true experience, make it 1 season of a fucking TV show. Not everything needs to be a goddamn 3.5 4 hour fucking movie. What is wrong with a miniseries? What is wrong with the fucking season of a TV show?
I love that's the other thing about it's like the good side and the bad side, of the streaming wars. Like miniseries approaches to these shows, they seem to work, especially when you're adapting like a book.
Yeah.
Do like a fucking 5-6 episode. HBO's been doing that, and Netflix is starting to get on that board. We don't need a season 2, 3, 4, 5. Just make fucking 6 episodes of something, and you could do a faithful adaptation of a book. But at the same time, we can't have every single fucking piece of entertainment be 6 hours or more,
Well, my thing is love or hate Supernatural, and I don't care. I watched them all. Supernatural lasted 15 fucking seasons, and every episode was 1 hour long. Love or hate the fucking show, it was 15 goddamn seasons. So long formats can work.
Yeah, but just like Barbie and Oppenheimer, like Barbie is making a shit zillion dollars more, and it's like, well, people are stupid. The public are idiots, And I agree, like even there might be some drop off, definitely in terms of like a massive drop off in terms of child attendance in the future. Yeah. Like I think after this weekend, there will be like hardly any fucking, elementary age students, kids, girls going to see that movie because it's going to be word going out. Hey, but I don't think the attendance
then
is
maybe
go
I
down.
can get some. Good. Maybe I can get some fucking peace and quiet.
But
I
want
to talk about your Oppenheimer viewing experience.
I'll get to that.
Yeah, but to what you guys, do you feel that certain films, certain storylines should be made into a miniseries versus a movie? Because I do. I think,
like I said, when you're adapting like a full length book, it's hard to you can't compress that in 2 hours. But if you gave us 6 hours to adapt a book, it's like that's pretty good amount of time.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I've seen Lawrence of Arabia in theaters. I've seen Titanic in theaters. Those are 3 hour plus movies, and they still have people's eyes glued to the screen. Like, you can make a 3.5 hour movie. You just have to find new ways to make each scene feel different from the last and make sure you're not repeating yourself over and over again. That was my real problem with The Irishman. It was mob cliche after mob cliche, and it just never fucking
how many fucking sit downs are we gonna have in this goddamn movie?
how many times is Robert De Niro gonna struggle with pretending to be 40 again?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Chris, you know what scene I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, even the drinker said he liked Irishman, but yeah, it's like you can tell that it's like the whole de-aging thing. De-aging works in some scenes when you're talking, but like Harrison Ford's dealt with this too. Like you're supposed to be fucking 40, but you're not walking and moving like you're 40.
Your voice ages too, man. I mean, shit, everything ages.
Yeah, but everyone knows the infamous Robert De Niro scene.
The new Darth Vader's voice sounds awful.
When De Niro had that one guy out in the street, he was stomping the guy out. It's like that looked so bad.
Yeah, it definitely looked like Grandpa putting down a beat down.
That was bad. Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like, back to like the Barbie movie, I mean. I definitely like I said, I walked out of there not really particularly like thinking, oh, that was good. But like, it's one of those things where like, I didn't like it. But I think if I saw it with Meg, she might have been like, I feel like I said, I was looking around the theater and definitely seeing like every like grown woman, like, getting a little teary eyed towards like the big like feminist speech. And like I said, like the movie straight up says patriarchy is not real. The patriarchy is not a real thing. Those are literal words that fucking female God says, and again, like it's one of those movies that I think is accidentally giving kind of base messages because Barbie's fucking gorgeous. Like, let's get this straight. Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. All the girls were going over him, but goddamn, Margot Robbie is fucking gorgeous.
I was texting my friend. He was, Chris, how's the film? I was like, dude, it's fucking horrible. He goes, first thing he said was, Chris, how's Margot Robbie look? I'm like,
he looks amazing.
He's like, Chris, he's like, listen, dude, I'm gonna rent this movie on digital. He's like, I'm just gonna put the movie on mute and just stare at Margot Robbie for 2 hours.
Her lips, her teeth, her eyes, her ass, they're all perfect.
Oh,
perfect.
Yeah. There's no debating. She's a fucking...
The camera is like 6 inches from her face, and she looks incredible. And she's smiling like a fucking angel.
I was texting my buddy. I was like, dude, it's so fucking anti-male. He goes, Chris. He's like, listen. He's like, Margot Robbie's so goddamn hot. He's like, to have my penis inside her for fucking 4 seconds, I would fucking betray my gender.
Right, but the movie is anti-male, but at the same time, it accidentally is pro-male because it shows like how like. First of all, men don't hold any real power in the real world, but the men go, Ken goes back to the Kendom, to the Barbie world and turns it into the Kendom. And it's like, is it really that bad? No, it's not. I mean, yeah, there's some monster trucks and some stupid, fucking sports and beers and stuff, but like everyone's happy, and everyone's equal. The Kens aren't homeless anymore. They're living in the houses with the Barbies. All the Barbies and Kens have paired off. And it's like, it's not a bad thing.
It's like the Drinker was saying. It's in my review that the Ryan Gosling Ken, this guy is so fucking starved for attention that in the real world, someone's like, "Hey Ken, what time is it?" Oh my god, someone wanted my opinion for the time. Like you've turned the Kens into fucking like these guys are slaves.
Right. And again, it's one of those things where, I mean, like I gotta say, like the big criticisms I have on the movie, it is preachy. The fucking final, like I said, kids. They are gonna want to use the restroom. They are gonna want to start crying and getting restless and run around the theater around the third act of the movie, where it becomes a big preach fest.
Yes.
But it's not really like the movie's not trying to talk to me, a man, and tell me what it's like to be a woman. It's definitely like women. The movie's definitely like a group. It's like a self-support group for women who are our age or a little younger. Girls who played with Barbies when they were girls. Girls nowadays do not play with Barbies. But like those, 20 to 40-year-old women, 20 to 70-year-old women who played with Barbies when they were kids.
Yeah.
This movie is definitely like a big like pat on your back. Like, hey, it's okay. We know things aren't great.
Yeah.
We know things aren't great out there, girls. But, the Barbie world, it's still there.
Well, it's like the Drinker said, and I thought this as well, is that instead of giving kids a message of that, maybe men and women are equal, it's the whole, it's like, fucking women just have it so hard in the world and men have it so great. And as I'm watching, I'm thinking, God damn, guys, said I have at August 21st, I have a fucking family court appearance. My son's 16. The past 10 years, what she's done to me in family court. Holy shit. Yeah. Men have it so much better than women, right? Okay.
Must be why we're less likely to finish college. Must be why we're more likely to still be living with our parents. Most likely to off ourselves. The list of stuff that Jordan Peterson and his buddies list off about the shit that happens. I'm just sitting there thinking,
you're right, Tyler. Yep.
What the fuck are people missing? Like.
And that's why guys like even Gary Neurotic or Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder talk about the whole, hey, you want to break down men's suicide rates? You want to break down fucking men's actually who gets killed more in violent assaults? You want to break down who does more dangerous jobs in terms of like coal miners, longshoremen, firefighters, et cetera, et cetera. Do you want to break down the homicide rate of men versus women?
You mentioned Bill Burr, his Titanic routine about how the guys have to swoop in.
Yeah, remember the cliche, boys and girls, women and children first. Yeah, exactly. But you're right. Men have it so much better than women. On top of two, if you want to break down the U.S. national fucking death rate of men versus women, the life expectancy rate of men versus women, yeah, you're right. It's a man's world. Okay.
Everybody loves Raymond literally says the man always dies first. That's a fact. And that's literally what happened to Peter Boyle.
Yeah. I mean, say what you will. I mean, like I said, the big criticisms for the Barbie movie, a little preachy or very preachy, but another big criticism was, what was it? Just the fact that, like, I don't know, Margot Robbie, like I said, God bless her. She's so gorgeous. But did you guys see Barbie Tran? Do you guys notice Barbie trans Barbie?
People talk about that. I didn't notice it.
I noticed her. But the problem is they don't really like clarify that she's trans. So like even the trans activists aren't happy now because she's just another female Barbie. Go for it.
If I'm being completely honest, Evil Dead Rise, I didn't even realize that kid was a trans boy. So sometimes,
really, I watched
trans boy.
I watched it. I watched it 2 days ago on HBO Max. My sister, really,
the blonde one or the
the blonde one.
Oh God!
And I'll say this. Sometimes I'll say this. Hey, sometimes you genuinely can't tell. Oh, sure. Now you're going to rip off my style.
I'm going to remove you for a second. No, you go take a huge stinky dump. All right. Well, now that Blue Collar's not here, let's laugh and look at some memes. No, I'm just joking. I'll wait for those. I'll wait for Blue Collar to see them. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just like if you want to hate Barbie, it's easy to hate it. And if you want to like Barbie, it's easy to like it. I mean, I think the movie was pretty nuanced because, yeah, on the surface, like, yeah, it's easy to just take these like surface level takes. Like it hates boys, it hates men, but really it's like, yeah, it's like dissing on boys. Ew, boys. Like that's like the whole vibe of the movie. Like little girls, like, ew, I don't want the Ken doll in my Barbie mansion, you know? Like that's, and also all the
Well,
weird communist nonsense is coming from the deranged woman that all of her Barbie playdom comes from, you know? So it's one of those things where like it's there, but it's not being portrayed as correct. It's not being portrayed as the right point of view. It's just being portrayed as this one woman's point of view.
if
So
I
like,
mean, well, one thing I've noticed from listening to you and Chris go back and forth on this, it, in my opinion, just says that Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach had no idea what they were saying or how
yeah,
they were supposed to say it.
it's good when you leave movies open to interpretation. Like this movie is going to be cool because
I mean, I'd prefer for that to be intentional, but
yeah, I'm hoping that it is. I was gonna say yeah. Oh, here, let's wait till he puts his headphone on. Yeah, we were just about to say how like the cool thing about the Greta Gerwig Barbie movie, whether it's intentional or not, it's definitely like open to interpretation, and it's definitely something that we can discuss and debate for like weeks or months to come. You know, like some of these movies are like, yeah, it was good or it was bad, and let's just talk about how like The Little Mermaid. God, by the way, The Little Mermaid feels like that was like a year ago. You know what I mean? That was like a couple months ago. But The Little Mermaid came out. It was like, all right, guys, let's all jerk off about how that movie sucked and move on. But the Barbie movie, I really feel like we could do a whole stream about how the movie sucked balls, and then we could do another stream about how the movie was amazing. Like it's like there's equal aspects of both parts, and like if you interpret it, if you go into it thinking one way, like Barbie's the bad guy, Ken's the good guy. If you walk into it thinking that, you'll see that. If you walk into it thinking boys drool and girls rule, you'll see that.
Part of me feels like Barbie's worse than Little Mermaid because Little Mermaid is fucking shitty. But you know what? It's just it's a shitty adaptation of a classic film. You can still go back and watch the first Little Mermaid, but I feel like Barbie, like it's constantly.
Yeah, but that definitely makes the Mermaid remake worse because it's a shitty adaptation of something that already exists.
But it's not preaching to fucking young girls for like hate all men. You know?
The thing is, it isn't because, like I said, at the end, Barbie's like, yeah, we hate all men, but I'm going to go where all the men are. That's like the end of the movie. That's what she does. The whole point is like, you have to grow up at some point and embrace the real world.
But she also never gave Ken the chance. It's just like, you love me, well, tough. And you know,
that is a criticism because of mine as well. As like, there's a part where Ken is like very open and he says, "I wish we could have had this house to share this house together.
But even
I just wanted this to be our house."
I'll put this
and Barbie's like, "Oh, sorry."
This was in my review, and it was that like when talking about the one Ken doll talking to the Madam President, he goes, "Hey, do you think I can be a Supreme Court judge?" She goes, "Well, maybe like a lower court judge."
Yeah, that was fucked up too.
And of course, Helen Mirren fucking narrated saying that, well, maybe we have to start small in progress, but one day the Ken dolls will get equal opportunities because women in the real world can't get equal opportunities. You know,
like, she basically says like, we'll basically give women the same we'll give these men, the Kens, the same amount of power that they have, that women have in the real world.
I'm like,
and I agree that that's like a stupid fucking line, but you have to understand, like, it's one of these lines. It's like, it's accidentally painting the SJW feminist in a negative light. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of these movies where it's just gonna, I think it's just red. It's more red pilling, you know. Like
that's what I'm saying. It's like the thing with Little Mermaid. It's like Little Mermaid. I just feel like it's a very shitty adaptation, but like it's not preaching the fact that like you know, Barbie Land is awesome, the real world sucks, and all men are horrible. Versus, it's like Little Mermaid is just a shitty adaptation.
I think a better ending for the Barbie movie would have been like, yeah, all right, well, let's change Barbie Land to where it's kind of looks more like the real world, and we kind of put this battle of the sexes aside. But like I said, the ending is we put Barbie Land back together, which it means it's a metaphor for like girls need their fantasies. Girls need little girls need their, you know, their playtime, their fun. Like I said, you know, they play with the dolls, they play with the toy houses, they play with the Ken dolls who are just accessories to the girls, and yeah, that's fine. But at some point, you have to grow up and get to the real world. And like I said, they restore Barbie Land, where they restore like the feminine fantasy, the little girl fantasy exists, but Barbie herself is like, I'm going to move on, just like how her little avatar, the lady who owns her, has grown up. Barbie herself is like, I'm going to enter the real world now.
Yeah.
Like she rejects the Barbie fantasy. That's the idea, that like the ending kind of salvages it. Kind of like Terminator 3, how like the movie's kind of shitty, but then the awesome ending happens. Barbie's like this fucking feminist propaganda shit, but then the end is Barbie rejecting it all and embracing the reality of the world.
Well, there's one problem with that though. How is this conveying a little girl's fantasy when the little girls have no idea that this Barbie land even exists?
Well, it's the woman who owned Barbie when she was a little girl, but the problem is the plot actually kicks into gear because, you know, she basically, spoilers, she kind of like starts playing with her old Barbies again as an adult. So Barbie is like in Barbie land and she's doing a Barbie thing, but then all of a sudden like the adult like neuroses start entering because girls project themselves onto their toys.
Yeah, and that's why the drinker left where I left my review as well, that when it comes out that, okay, so the real world reflects Barbie land. Like, dude, it's a, do you understand the fact of what little boys do to Barbie dolls? Like, really?
Right. Yeah, and exactly. Like, I understand the criticism about how, like, oh, you know, this movie, it paints matriarchy and paints motherhood in a negative light. And it's like, yeah, I agree. One of my bigger criticisms of the whole movie is just like the lack of the father in the movie, the husband character. You think he's like divorced or something, and then at the end he's in the car with the wife, and he definitely has this like beta, she calls all the shots attitude, which is like not necessary. Like every man in the movie is portrayed as a dum-dum, as a fucking idiot. I agree with that.
Will Ferrell hurt my feelings.
Will Ferrell's, I mean, honestly, Will Ferrell's not that funny. I sometimes he's great, most of the time he's not.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Speaking of formulas, his ran out like a long time ago,
dude. Yeah. Like the fucking line where he says, "In Tyler," and you know, shit. Okay, how many times in board meetings do I want to have a fucking tickle fight? Like I've never.
Yeah, that was weird.
I'm 40 fucking 1 years old.
Random part where the Kens kiss each other. That was like random gay insert gayness. I can tell you,
I've never worked.
Dude, they literally say they beat each other off. Why is that?
Well, that was funny. That was funny. I mean, that was a joke. Yeah. But like the kissing each other was like, there's this awesome music number at the end of the movie. Like I said, Ken steals the fucking show. Like here, I was just gonna share something real quick. But yeah, go ahead, Chris.
But no, the whole head of Mattel was like, okay, how many times in boardroom meetings and stuff, in meetings, I want to talk about tickling each other. I've never in my lifetime met any fucking group of like corporate guys who want to sit around fucking tickle each other. Like, dude, like what? Like,
well, it's kind of like a random Will Ferrell joke, but then they kind of balance out the no gays by saying like one of the guys tries to hug him. He's like, "Don't hug me. What are you doing? Hugging me?" Like so, like, but yeah,
it's like the Boondock Saints. Remember fucking Willem Dafoe? The guy tries to kiss me. He calls him a bag. But,
well, the right way to interpret the Barbie movie is this Shakespearean tragedy with Ken as our tragic hero, a would-be Ubermensch of high birth, unparalleled vision and will, whose noble pursuit of strength and vitality is hindered by his fatal flaw, desiring the approval of women. I mean, again, it's one of these movies where this movie is vague. It's layered. So you can interpret. That's kind of what I want to do with my vampire book, by the way. I want it to be like, if you're a hardcore SJW, you can read my vampire book and love it. And if you're a hardcore men going their own way, dude, you'll read my vampire book and love it. Like, I want it to be, you know, these stories should appeal to people on a massive front. And like, while I agree the movie on the surface level is very preachy and very like misandric, the thing is, like, when you scratch just a little bit under the surface, you realize like it's all flawed. It's never portrayed as like correct. It's never portrayed as good, you know, and it's all rejected at the end. So it's like one of these things where, like, you know, the underlying message is it's bad if you want to interpret it that way, or the surface level message is it's all good if you want to interpret it that way.
Well, considering it goes from one gender ruling over the other to the next, and then going right back to the way it is, it's kind of a mixed message.
Yeah, that is what I agree about, you know, Drinker and stuff. Is like, if the ending had kind of more of like a bonding experience between Ken and Barbie, you know, that would have been better. Like, she should have taken, she should have taken Ken to the real world with her, something like that.
Or at the very least, like she could have set him up with a different Barbie. I mean, if you want to talk like a movie about men experiencing heartache and learning to get over it, there's a right way to do that. Fucking Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame did that a hell of a lot better. It may be the only Disney movie I've seen that was about someone letting go of someone they love but aren't loved back in return.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing is like that was a really poignant moment, non-ironically, in the movie Barbie, was where at the beginning of the movie, Ken's asking, and you see it in the trailer, he's asking to spend the night. Why? I don't know. Yeah. Boyfriend and girlfriend to do what? I don't know. Well, I was hoping you tell me, but then it cuts to like, I can't because it's girls' night, and it's like cuts to all the Barbies doing a slumber party. Every night's girls' night, Ken, and this is Barbie's mansion. Barbie's playhouse. It's not Ken's playhouse.
It's the fucking point. It's like, in Barbie Land, the fucking Ken dolls are there to just be like, basically like, they're there for like looking pretty and being a piece of ass, because that's their fucking director, her reverse view of the world that, okay, all men in real life and on our world, we treat women as useless and just pieces of ass. And it's like, and that's the furthest thing from the fucking truth, sweetheart. It's like,
but it's also
I can honestly say I've never seen a woman treated like that in the 27 fucking years of my life. Not my friends, not my family, not my coworkers.
You see an old guy with a cardboard sign saying, "I got no house, I need money." And he'll stay there for weeks before someone shoots him away. You have a pretty girl with a cardboard sign saying, "I have no house, I don't know what to do." Some guy will fucking come stay at my place, young lady. I'll give you room and board. I'll get you on your feet.
Maybe it's a fucking generational gap. But yeah, this whole thing where it's like the director. All men want fucking bimbos. They want fucking. They want fucking big tit, fucking blonde haired, stupid women. No,
but again, it's like a tiny girl's idea of what boys versus girls is like.
No, that it's not that either, Enzo. I mean, the amount of movies and shows I watched as a kid that had to explicitly spell out to us how being a boy and a girl is an equal thing. Like neither one is being such a bad thing. It was fucking everywhere. And what pisses me off about my generation is, I mean, look, obviously we can't remember every movie or show that we ever watched.
Yeah.
But you would think that like your favorite ones, you would have some memory of them teaching you something useful.
Yeah. And not to mention the cliche I've told my girl, it's like this is an entire generation of the fucking quote unquote Kardashians. And I've said this 10,000 times that, listen, I would take a fucking woman, like most of us guys, I can't speak for Enzo and Tyler, but I'm assuming that most of us want the quote unquote girl next door. We don't mind some stretch marks. We don't mind a little bit of fucking curvature. We none of us want, it's like, you don't need $100,000 of fucking plastic surgery to be quote unquote perfect. Most of us don't want perfect. It's like, I think the Kardashians are fucking vile.
Dude, well, yeah, the girl I am crushing at work right now, I'm having a crush on at work right now, is an Indian girl who is shorter than me and has what looks like a solid mole, not like one of ththose moles that you can wiggle around, like a solid one right at the corner of her ear. And I do not give two shits whatsoever.
Well, not enough to talk. Not enough to not talk about it, though. But I'm just joking. But
I'm just kidding. Here's the thing: I've asked to hang out with her multiple times, but she's one of those girls who has so many student loans that she has 2 jobs and no days off. So,
like I was saying earlier, like the problem with this, like, okay, so there's a scene where, like I said, Barbie's telling Ken, like, hey, you can't stay in the Barbie playhouse. It's not the Ken playhouse, and it's girls' night. Well, later, Ken does the same thing to her. Hey, you can't stay here. It's Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House.
And that's so
it's boys' night. And like seeing Barbie, like realize like, oh, yeah, I realized I wasn't good to you, And then Ken pulls his heart out for her, tells her, I But like I said, like that's one of the big criticisms of the movie is like there is no like, reconciliation between the two.
Well, like that's the whole fucking meta. The meta is that every fucking Barbie in the Barbie world is a fucking shallow bitch because they're trying to reflect that every man in our world is a shallow asshole. And we're like, no, not every fucking dude thinks like this.
But again, it's like everything you're describing can be attributed to the neurosis and projections of that one woman, the lady who controls. So like there is a reason that is valid and not as
It's like Enzo. I made a
not as
fucking
devastating as you're making it out to be. It's that one woman's fucked up. That one woman who
yeah.
the movie's about is fucked
I,
up.
I was making a fucking joke to my friend. I was like, dude, whoever this director is, she must really hate her fucking dad. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I agree. I mean, now if you had, I'm sure your daughters, your girlfriends, your wives, I'm sure they will like this movie. Some of them might not, but I think most of them are going to understand what this movie's trying to tell them about what it is to be a woman. I can't really. That movie wasn't speaking to me. I did chuckle at a few moments. I did admire the visual aspects of a lot of stuff in the movie. There's definitely the part where, Ken's just wearing this weird tie-dye hoodie out of nowhere, and it says, "I am Knuff." And it's just like, what the fuck? And that was like the one time where it got an audible laugh out of me, and I'm the only motherfucker in the theater.
That does remind me. I told Enzo this, but Chris wasn't in the stream yet. If I do make a non-review, it's going to start off with me doing like the 2.5 Ken intro.
Yeah, there you go.
Because for some reason, nobody's done that yet.
Yeah. No. I'm thinking if we move on, and so it's like you're saying, like, Ken, at one point, Ken is talking to Barbie, the Ryan Gosling Ken, about, how I was created for you and I can't be nothing without you. But it's like, it seems like these people, they're very anti, like, I wouldn't say so much codependency, but as I said, my grandparents' generation, my parents' generation, my generation, I tell my girlfriend all the time, like, honey, listen, you cannot bench as much as me, lift as much as me, but like, I'm a fucking idiot. And like, she is just so good at so many things. Like I need you in my life. And this film is very anti men and women. What is wrong with needing a partner? It's like, holy shit. It's like, come on.
This movie could have had way better response if it had just like kind of summarized all that nicely in an ending, like putting aside this battle of the sexes,
I'm having this similar fear towards the new Ninja Turtles movie that comes out next week, because it is clear as present day that the whole message of the movie centers around people's inner beauty. Because I mean, the Turtles, they're not allowed to talk to any humans because
they're ugly
in an extremely out of character fashion, Splinter is kind of racist to humans, which
wow.
He's also got an afro, which is pretty weird.
Yeah, Jesus, Jackie Chan as Splinter should not be this
awful
out of character, which which reminds me, I mean, it's no secret that they made April look not a bombshell, which, I mean, look, I'm not a fan of Megan Fox by any means, but I mean, she still fit the aesthetic that the 80s cartoon and whoever the lady was from the original movies had. I mean, hell, the TMNT CG movie where Lawrence Fishburne narrates the first 30 seconds and disappears, and Uncle Iroh from Avatar is Splinter. Like, that had Sarah Michelle Gellar and Chris Evans as April and Casey. Like, even the voice actors were attractive enough. But for this, like, everyone looks too deliberately ugly. The villains,
April and the Turtles are the same fucking silhouettes. Like, if you blacked them all out, you wouldn't be able to tell which one's April.
Yeah, and I mean, the most painfully obvious metaphor is that the villains are that whole squad of mutants like Bebop, Rocksteady, the Ice Cube Fly that genuinely does seem kind of funny. I will give it that. Where, of course, they have the same struggle the Turtles do, where they can't go outside and interact, except the Turtles want to be given a chance and the mutants want to like take back that chance. It's trying to do that Princess Mononoke thing where you don't approve with the humans, but you don't approve with the monsters. But I swear to God, they're going to fuck that up in some shape or form, because they'll just say, well, if the humans weren't like this, the monsters wouldn't have an excuse to rebel. I'm just sitting there going, well, that's not technically true. Like, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. But most people nowadays, most people in Hollywood especially, they don't believe in that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing about the Ninja Turtles is like, I mean, I understand. Yeah, they're mutants. They're gross. New York. It's better when it's portrayed in a greasy, limelight. But I'm just like, I love the idea that the Turtles are children, like teenagers.
I don't know.
It's gonna fuck it up. I know it's gonna be one of those things. I'm also tired of this animation style. It's overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, it's awful.
And it's
It-
only been
it's-
five.
it
it's
looks
only been 5
cool.
years.
It looks cool when it's done, like in this Spider-Verse movies. You know, it kind of goes with the movie plot because they're in multiple universes and you can do all this wild shit. But like, if you're just playing a story that takes place in New York, like we don't need to get so expressive and also
the
choppy
excuse-
frame rate.
Yeah, the excuse they're giving is that they're copying off of Arcane as opposed to Spider-Verse, but I mean, it looks so similar
Still,
that it
same
doesn't
thing.
even
Yeah,
matter.
it's that style.
My issues with the Turtles is that, for starters, are some of them older than the others? Because I can't tell if it's Mikey or Donnie, but he hasn't hit puberty yet, and it's so distracting from the rest of them who clearly are. And the other is that, I said this in another stream, but like, they all seem to enjoy beating the shit out of bad guys a little too much. I mean, Raph was going to begin with, but Mikey smiles the same way Raph does when he kicks the shit out of people, and I'm just sitting there going, "You're not supposed to be enjoying this, man." Like,
well, definitely recommend. I hope they make a Last Ronin movie at some point. I mean, because that comic was amazing. I don't know if you guys saw that, but
the game's coming out, so they're making the game.
But yeah, I agree with this. I saw the Toy Story 3 Barbie stuff. I mean, that was amazing. They turned Barbie into a main character with her own personality and plot relevance. Ken betrays Lotso. You know, he forms a genuine connection. Like, you know, her and Barbie are like made for each other, you know? And then they're both working together as equals. They both start working the daycare afterwards, you know?
Not to mention, it's made explicitly clear on Ken's part that the only thing missing from his dream house is someone to share it with.
Yeah, and that could have been a line. Also, Ken was voiced by Michael Keaton in that movie.
That part was pretty cool.
That's fucking great. And then also, Barbie voiced by the original Ariel.
Damn.
That's right. Yeah,
good stuff, man. Those pics. And the other thing is, I was rewatching it last night. The Pixar Toy Story 3 Barbie stuff, and yeah, the fucking scene where Ken is like, you know, nobody understands fashion, and she's like, Ken, would you model for me? And he gets all excited, and that fucking montage is so unironically, genuinely hilarious. You know, it's funny. It was hard not to laugh out loud watching it. But I think we talked about Barbie about 2 hours and Oppenheimer for like 15 minutes. But Oppenheimer,
there's not really. I don't know if there's not that much to say that anyone.
I think there's a lot to say about Oppenheimer. I was fucking genuinely excited about the movie. I loved it. And here's the thing, I loved it for being a historical biopic. I loved it for, like you said, it's like one of those things where, like, I agree. Like I said about the IMAX stuff, like, yeah, maybe not paying $25 to see it in IMAX is cool, but seeing it in IMAX, I mean, my one criticism is like the big nightmare scenes, just a little bit more of that, you know?
That would have been great.
Because here's the thing. I mean, they show you the visions, you know, and you see how big the Fat Man bomb is, the Trinity bomb is. You see how big it is. And then there's that one shot, and they show it for like literally like 5 seconds total in the whole movie. But it's like you see Oppenheimer's little head in the bottom lower camera, and you just see these gigantic fucking ICBMs. And then it's like one missile, and then the camera is panning left, and you just see there's like a whole row of these gigantic, like tower-sized missiles. Just that one shot alone, just linger on that a little bit longer. The scene of like the clouds all peppered with these like rocket trails, you know? And yeah, the scene of him in the cockpit, like all the stuff that wasn't in the trailer. I was surprised, like still a lot of really good visually stunning stuff that wasn't kept out of all the promo material. Like the scene of him like putting himself in the cockpit of that jet, seeing those rockets flying over him. Very cool. And you can see how that's practical effects and stuff. And I don't know. I liked it, but it didn't really leave me with this sinking feeling. Like I definitely wanted to see more vaporized Japanese people. I definitely wanted to see like actual, like show us the slideshow that they're showing the crew, you know, of all these you know, crisped up bodies.
Yeah, I had a hard time believing that this was an R-rated movie, which
a few F-bombs and a few disappointing boobies.
Look, here's the thing. Nolan's
Florence, I love her. Just speaking of Girl Next Door, she definitely has this girl next door kind of appeal.
Yeah.
She's a modestly attractive woman, but yeah, I don't know. We're gonna see this girl naked a few times. She just wanted to get naked. I feel like she just had to do a naked role. I feel like that's what's going on. But yeah,
it wasn't her that was naked in Midsommar, and I'm extremely disappointed in that.
Well, it was portrayed in a very creative way. Like the nudity was done very artistically, and it was done well.
I mean, in the courtroom scene,
it was
it
awesome.
certainly was.
It was amazing. And I agree, like maybe her character wasn't necessary, but at the same time, it's like no, she represents like literal physical embodiment of the temptation to join the Communist Party that he allegedly rejected and renounced. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, other than being a communist, like, what do you really know about her? They hint at her being a shrink, but
also more like he gets upset that he has blood on his hands, but you could argue that he already had blood on his hands with that woman.
But there's also that scene where he tried to poison his professor out of nowhere, which I still don't get the relevance of that scene, considering he flat out said that he didn't actually hate the guy. So what was that supposed to? I get that it's foreshadowing for the destruction that he would later lay out on people. But if he felt remorse for it, like, what's the point of doing it?
Well, it was one of those things where in the heat of the moment, it's like what Matt Damon was when he was auditioning him, interviewing him for the role, the job. He was saying, I don't like you because, you seem to be emotional. And what were some of his other criticisms? You can't basically not mentally, not willing to stand the mental stress of something like this, I think is what was the gist of what he was kind of say. And like, that kind of harkens back to what he was saying. Like, yeah, he was getting stressed out in the lab. He was plagued by visions and all that stuff was, this movie, like I said, let's talk about the Nolan formula. Non-sequential story, told totally out of order, amazing visuals, huge ensemble cast, giant fucking epic soundtrack blasting throughout the whole movie, fluid handheld camera with rapid cuts and editing. I mean, what else? I mean, man, there's so many. This is like so Nolan-y.
Everybody has to wear a suit and tie.
Yeah, lots of suits and ties and vistas and world hopping locations, filmed on set, hardly any sets. Not on set, filmed on location, and hardly any sets. Yeah, a lot of good stuff like that. But as far as
everybody has to give these deep philosophical monologues about
the whole movie's an exposition diatribe.
Yeah,
but I gotta say, like Oppenheimer itself was very experimental film. Like, I mean, a lot of trying new shit, which I definitely appreciated. In terms of filming it and in terms of structure wise, story wise,
the way he did a non-linear thing was admittedly different for him, and I do like all the stuff about him imagining his experiments or imagining the guilt and the decomposing bodies. Like, the surreal shit was a change of pace for him, and like you said, it would have been a better movie in my opinion if he took more advantage of that. And I mean, dude has Final Cut privilege. It's not like
we don't need to see the whole world like Terminator 2 style getting nuked to oblivion, but just a few more, like have those shots be a little longer,
Yeah,
so they can really like resonate with us.
That's what I mean though. If they had shown like a picture of, hell, it could have been a picture of that one girl who died of cancer and tried to fold 1,000 paper cranes. Like, I can't remember her name, but my elementary school, the very first school I went to, had like paper cranes tied to the ceiling. Everybody knew that story. They had read that book in grade 2 or 3, and it was one of the first stories we ever read where the main character in a true life story especially doesn't make it out alive. And for grade 2 or 3, that's some heavy shit. And I'm wondering if that story hasn't been turned into a movie or show already, because that'd be some hard-hitting shit. That'd be some Grave of the Fireflies level depression.
Yeah, that's one of those movies that's like Chris, you seen Grave of the Fireflies, the anime?
Oh, no.
That is a depressing, sad... No, watch it, please.
Do not have your son around.
No, watch it with your son. Watch it. He's old enough.
Okay.
No.
16.
Well,
I love that movie when I was his age. It's a sad one, dude. It's an anime about Japanese war orphans. It's fucked up and it's sad.
Sure.
Look,
And
I'm not saying his son is too young. I'm saying is
You'll all
having
have
his
a
son
great
around
cry.
will just make it a hell of a lot worse
Well,
emotionally.
watch it with the whole family, dude. It's a good depressing war movie. I mean, war movies should be sad, and Oppenheimer was, definitely like that's the whole spoiler. The big punchline of the movie. There's a part where they think they might accidentally ignite the atmosphere and cause the world to end.
Sure.
And he talks about it with Einstein and Matt Damon's character, and it's like a less than zero. It's like a little not a little bit of more above 0% chance, around 0%.
I just want to say I feel very proud of the fact that I did my Team America Matt Damon voice in my video every single chance I got.
Hell yeah, Matt Damon. Poor guy. I mean, he's a good sport with it stuff. He can take a good joke, Matt Damon. But and I also think this was like career
He's
best
also
for
said
him.
in interviews that he doesn't get why that existed in the first place. Like he's not mad. He's just confused.
Yeah, exactly. That's even makes it even funnier.
Yeah.
Just single out some random actor and make him think that he's a retard. I mean, that's funny. They could have picked any other. They could have had Ben Affleck doing that. Ben Affleck. Why did they do that? Why didn't they?
I mean, the Team America trailer starts off with a list of people, good or bad, like Kim Jong-un or George Clooney, and then it says, "Are all gonna hate this movie or hate the way they're in it?" And I'm just sitting there going, "That's a good way to get people in."
Yeah, I mean, as far as like, Oppenheimer's. Oh yeah, one more Barbie meme real quick. Also, you can add Blade Runner on this list too. Because he has a fictional girlfriend in that one too.
I actually watched Lars and the Real Girl in grade 10 high school. That was just so fun.
Yeah, I like that movie. I love the soundtrack to that one too. The score is great.
It's very laid back.
Yeah, I like it. There's a one specific track in it that I love. But anyway, back to Oppenheimer. Back to the real shit. As far as I mean, Chris Nolan just kind of, the word I was looking for earlier that I couldn't remember was a vanity project. Thank you. It was a vanity project for Chris Nolan. Basically, Universal Studios saying, "Hey, man, come over here and make your atomic bomb movie." But again, it's like, why is Chris Nolan so gung-ho about making this atomic bomb movie for us? I gotta say, the explosion a little underwhelming.
The build-up was good. I'll give it that.
The build-up was great, but the actual blast was like, man, we're far away. I was hoping like for some the stuff at the very beginning that you see in the trailers. That stuff was amazing.
Yeah.
But then the actual explosion itself, I mean, it's a little underwhelming. There's another movie.
I got to be honest. I felt more tense watching my own recreation of the explosion, and even I know that isn't up to par.
Well, but all the stuff about, like I said, afterwards, like you see the big Trident missiles, you see the cockpit stuff, and it's really just like 3 or 4 little scenes. Also, the ripples, you see these the raindrops on the pond, like that stuff keeps getting echoed back, and then like when you see it overlaid over the map, I mean, yeah, it's on the nose, but I mean, it looks cool.
Well, I mean, when Christopher Nolan's not on the nose, he's extremely convoluted, because I'll be the first to admit I could not follow the Robert Downey Jr. storyline to save my life. And I feel bad saying that because technically Robert Downey Jr. does give an out-of-the-box performance, and his character is not the stuffy know-it-all who thinks he's always right or is just the prim and proper guy who just doesn't get the joke. If anything, he's actually a vengeful sack of shit. But once they got to his motivation, once he realized why he hated Oppenheimer in the first place, I'm just sitting there going, okay, this is up to par with the queen hating Snow White for being beautiful. Like, this is so petty, and we were following him for half the movie for this to be the reveal. That just it felt too pathetic a character in the end for me to really say that Downey Jr.'s performance was that Oscar worthy.
Well, he was definitely like, because so many characters, so many actors, they're peppered in here and there for like a scene, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. But Robert Downey Jr., he had a huge part, and I didn't realize he was going to be such a huge part. But basically, like, there's 2 sections of the movie. The movie literally starts off labeling it. There's fission And then there's part 2, Fusion. Part 1, Fission, is all the stuff building up to Trinity, and Fusion is all the stuff after Trinity, dealing with his accusations of being a communist and not getting a security clearance, and speaking out vocally about nuclear war and all this stuff. And that stuff was kind of handled poorly because all the black and white stuff is like kind of centered around Robert Downey Jr. It's all kind of focused from his point of view, and it tries to paint him as like kind of this like heroic kind of dude who's just kind of like, hey, I'm just sticking up for my friend. But then like the big twist reveal is like, yeah, he's kind of the guy that kind of turned on his buddy Robert J. Oppenheimer.
I don't know if it's because this twist has been done a million times or not, but I felt the exact same way that Aldrin Ehrenreich's character was, where I'm just sitting there going, I sat through all this just for that reveal. I will say this, Ehrenreich was pretty good, and it made me respect him a lot more as an actor, because other than Hail Caesar, and honestly, I didn't hate him in Solo, and
yeah, God bless him, poor guy.
He's a good sport. You got to give him credit for that.
Right, and I thought he was great in that movie too, Oppenheimer.
I mean,
what about the other guy? Robert Downey Jr.'s assistant was the guy from the pilot from the Orwell. And
the Orville? Oh,
Orville,
shit,
that's what I meant.
That's the guy from American Dad.
Yeah, that redheaded goatee guy. He was Robert Downey Jr.'s assistant, like telling him, like, sir, keep your voice down, sir, while you yell, And then who else? Like, there were so many other good cameos, like random. Like, there's the guy from the new Scream movies. He's that one dude. The fat guy from he played the brother in Welcome to the Slums of Beverly Hills. He's the fat dude who's the fat guy who's talking about why it's cool to be Jewish or whatever.
One performance that I left out in my video just because I didn't have enough time. I liked Matthew Modine's character and the back and forth politically that he had with Oppenheimer.
Dude, is Chris asleep?
No, I think he's just looking at his phone.
Oh, you were asleep. No, your phone is. Don't lie.
My phone.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
I mean, he'd be just like the bitch in front of me at the first screening, just looking up Wikipedia articles of Oppenheimer during the fucking movie.
Well, I'd imagine people doing that because they're like, I don't know what's happening right now. I'm just gonna look it up. Like I could imagine
Look, I agree. It's complicated that you want to look shit up, but like you should have done it either before or after.
I didn't know this movie was. I honestly didn't realize the movie was going to be talking so much about like this like communist stuff, which was cool because it was one of these things where when the movie was starting, I was like, oh, is this movie going to be like saying like communism was right? But no, it was actually all about like ratting out your fellow man to like kind of upsell yourself. It's sleazy. It's evil. It's punishable. Also, I do like how this movie was like kind of the exact opposite of Barbie, whereas like Barbie was very diverse and woke. This movie was like all white dudes, a couple Jewish dudes here and there, but like all white men building a fucking weapon of genocide. And then randomly they would have like a random like black woman sitting in a desk.
Okay,
not saying anything.
Now you're sounding like the pink-haired idiot and her boyfriend that sat in front of me in the good screening.
Of what? Oppenheimer?
Yeah, the second screening I went to, I saw her and her boyfriend both.
But she was complaining about what I'm saying, right?
No, but one thing that like made me think that I was going to repeat the whole situation all over again. They had KN95s. They brought their own snacks, I guess, and they were like wrapped in saran because they were that anal. And I'm just sitting there thinking, for fuck's sake.
Making a bunch of fucking plastic wrapping noises in the movie.
I don't know if like they're against the capitalist system of buying movie theater snacks or if they're just bigger germaphobes than I am, but thankfully they weren't anywhere near as bad as the first screening, and they weren't even the worst people in the second one. The worst people in the second one was during the big climax where Rami Malek rats out Robert Downey. Some lady like gave that clap and went yeah, and I'm just sitting there going, can you not fucking wait?
I think it was more like, yeah, he had lines. Hooray. I was thinking how funny it'd be if he had no lines in the whole movie.
which I thought he was going to. Like,
He
I
shows
forgot.
up in 3 scenes and says nothing, and I was like, I like that.
I forgot he was in it. No, I don't like that. Like after
No, it's funny
Bohemian,
because it's like Chris Nolan like flexing his balls. Like I can have the biggest guy from TV, Mr. Robot, in my movie just to fucking hand papers to my main character. You know, like
the things actors would do to get out of their house during the pandemic,
or to get into like, yeah, I can't wait to work with Chris Nolan. I'm sure. I mean, definitely a lot of familiar faces from the Chris Nolan movies, like the V2 rocket pilot. That was the crazy Joker killer guy from Dark Knight. The guy pretending to be the police officer. Who else? Who else in all the obviously Cillian Murphy, several Nolan movies.
Matt Damon did Interstellar.
He was in Interstellar randomly. That was a good cameo, actually. By the way, Interstellar.
I laugh at that. That line delivery was so terrible.
Yeah, and then he ends up being the bad guy. Like, I'm betraying you. I'm gonna kill you. It's like Matt Damon versus Matt McConaughey. How funny.
I mean, Robert Pattinson was supposed to be the Josh Peck character, but of course he chose Batman over this.
Yeah, but I gotta say the best of all the cameos. I mean, there was a whole lot, and I'm sure we'll think of any more. Like, Kenneth Branagh as Niels Bohr. Hell yeah, dude! And then the fact that he shows up twice.
That German douche from Army of the Dead was actually okay as Heisenberg.
Yeah, Heisenberg was also. He's only in the movie for a little bit. Just see him once. And just like how, Oppenheimer meets him in real life. Like, yeah, I had said hello to him one time. But then, yeah, he goes off to go help the Germans, and then there's also the other big one. I don't know who played Albert Einstein, but he was good.
Nobody famous, but
yeah, some guy. I don't know if he's worked with Nolan before.
Somebody who just bore a pretty good resemblance.
You know, it's funny. I just realized I'm totally subconsciously, accidentally doing the rubbing his eyebrow thing that he does in the movie. I'm just doing that. I didn't even mean to. But the big one was Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman, I loved him in that movie because Truman was a badass. I'm sorry, I know you didn't seem to like it, but I love Truman.
It was such a stereotypical presidential thing that we get nowadays. And I'm just sitting there going, didn't Truman desegregate like a bunch of different things?
No, I mean, it's not saying that he was a bad president. It's saying that he was a strong president. He was willing to take that burden. Like he tells Oppenheimer, like, look, the blood isn't on your hands. It's on my hands.
Yeah, but he said that very begrudgingly.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a great. It's like your dad telling you to fucking shape up, stop crying.
Look,
fucking man up.
Look, it's one thing to say you should have known what you were getting yourself into, but I didn't get that vibe.
Yeah,
I got the stereotypical Red Foreman be a man kind of shit, even though as the years have gone by, Red Foreman's advice on life seems to make more and more sense each day.
Yeah, him and Al Bundy. Who's the other ones? But as far as
those are the big two.
Dude, no, Chris is totally sleeping.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
I mean,
Chris is sleeping. So I'm saying, dude.
15,
Chris is sleeping. I'm saying you're falling asleep, Chris.
I mean, in all seriousness,
you're not on your phone. Why are you lying?
Look, in all seriousness, like 20 minutes, I might take off to go to sleep, but
yeah, we can wrap this up in the 33-hour mark. Talk about
less.
But as far as
what's with the Seth Rogen laugh there, Enzo?
I don't know, man.
Seth Rogen laugh.
Well,
speaking of, isn't he the bastard responsible for Mutant Mayhem?
Oh God, yes, he is.
Like,
yeah,
if it was just him as Bebop, that would have been one thing, because that's the one voice acting role where I'd say it's the one voice acting role where he doesn't have to try, but then again, as he said in Super Mario, he just puts it in his contract that he doesn't have to try.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he needs to just play himself and other characters like himself. I mean, this similar thing with like actors. And I gotta say, like Cillian Murphy, he was doing a great job talking, like whatever accent he was doing. I dug it.
Yeah, I expect nothing less. I want to say it was a Boston accent because like Emily Blunt's voice was so weird. I couldn't tell what version of the stage.
Like a slight German accent he's doing, like a faint German kind of thing, I think is what was going on.
Yeah, and I guess I guess Catherine Oppenheimer was from Germany, so I guess that explains the discrepancy. But they don't really go into her German or even her communist background. It has more to do with the husbands that we never see. And never
One
care
thing I
about.
liked about this movie in terms of like a biopic is we don't talk about his like childhood, his parents. We don't talk about his death. We don't talk about like we see him old for a little bit at the end of the movie.
Well, for a lot of people, the first half hour of him being a physics student was a waste of space. I really enjoyed it because those were the scenes where that got you to root for him, even though he's going to make the world a much worse place. I said it in my video where the first half hour, especially, he is just obsessed with learning anything that he can get his hands on. And that's a quality that's just inherently infectious in any movie or character.
It's debatable. Like you could argue he made the world a better place because like he says, like the Germans are going to make this bomb. So if we don't make it before them, you know, that's a problem. And it's like he said, like it's like in the trailer where he says, you know, we shouldn't, I don't know if we could be trusted with this weapon, but we have no choice. That's the thing. It's like, we got to make this weapon because.
And yet it's still an eye opener for him, which I mean is, let's face it, we've all had moments where we knew something was going to be dangerous and then the reality of how dangerous it was hit us. Like that was it's still an identifiable theme.
This is also one of the few movies where I like Josh Hartnett. Josh Hartnett was
good.
I forgot which one he even was.
He was one of these scientists, the guy who was telling him like, hey, calm down on that communism stuff. You know, he was doing like, he was giving off Kevin Costner vibes, you know?
Yeah. So was Bernard from the Santa Claus, and I couldn't find him anywhere in the background.
Right. The other good memorable performances, like I said, we do Gary Oldman saying, you know, where Oppenheimer looks at him, he's just like, sir, about the hydrogen bomb, like I don't know if I could do it because I feel like there's blood on my hands.
Yeah.
And then he just pulls out his hanky and he's just like fucking waves it in his face. And then what does he say? He says,
"Pussy."
You think anyone in Hiroshima or Nagasaki
gives a
flying shit about who built the bomb? They care about who dropped it. I did. And that's the other thing. The Japanese, you know who bombed the Japanese? The Japanese bombed the Japanese because like I'm serious. I mean, I'm not trying to be, and they do a good job trying to point that out in the war rooms meeting where they're talking about what fucking city to bomb.
Yeah.
And like one guy says, hey man, I don't want to bomb Kyoto because we like it there and it's cultural relevance. And we got to pick some of these cities. And, you know, I mean, they're talking about like, you know, the devastation it's going to cause. And, you know, it's not like anything anyone wants to do, but like they say, it's like, we've got word that the Japanese will never surrender. And the things the Japanese were doing compared to the Nazis, it made the Nazis look like fucking Boy Scouts. You should watch The Men Behind the Sun.
Look,
and you can look at some of the atrocities the Japanese committed amongst the Chinese in World War II, dude. It was insane.
Look, man, I don't doubt that. I mean, in occupied Poland, as much as my grandpa had to be taken to Gestapo meetings by my great-grandpa so that my great-grandpa wouldn't disappear, because, I mean, an adult disappears from the Gestapo, nobody bats an eye, but you disappear a kid, then people revolt because now they know the jig is up. But the Soviets didn't do that. Hell, the Soviets were so ruthless and so shitty at their job. Even they were starving and killing each other for food, and that was that's basically what made my great grandpa say once he finally got out of the gulag, because he was one of only 3 people to make it out alive. It's just like,
make this picture is great.
Nice segue there, Enzo.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, man. Sorry, Meg. Meg, are you here?
Yeah, that was just a hell of a inn to walk into.
Right. I was just
only
about
3 of them made it out alive. Anyway, Meg, are you here?
Hey, I'm sitting here now, so that should answer everything.
I was just about to talk about how, the Japanese, man. I mean, they have a high, they're very honorable and they're very, they were definitely like, we're going to fight to the last man and we will not stop unless you invade our mainland. And, shit is one of those things where like we saved American lives by just dropping a couple bombs on them and be like, we dropped one and be like, dude, we told them, hey, we're going to drop a big bomb on you. You don't have any idea. And they're like, bring it on, fucker. We're Japanese. We will fight to the last man. We do not care. And we dropped one bomb on Hiroshima, and they were like, holy shit, that was a big bomb. And it was one plane that went past radar because they didn't give a shit because it was one plane.
Yep.
And then we were like, are you sure you don't want to surrender? And they're like, fuck you. And then we dropped one more bomb and they were like, all right, we'll surrender. And basically because of that, Oppenheimer indirectly manga and anime and hentai and Godzilla. Oppenheimer is responsible for all of that shit. So that's kind of why I got to give the man kudos. We wouldn't have Akira if it wasn't for Robert J. Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm actually not a big fan of Akira, but
we wouldn't have Perfect Blue. We certainly wouldn't have Dragon Ball Z or any waifus.
I'm pretty sure it's waifu, but details.
Waifus, thank you.
I love that 2 of you are dressed for the Barbie occasion.
Well, no,
right.
Tyler's wearing pink too, but his lighting is making his shirt look a little white.
It's like a light pink.
I was gonna
He looked good
say-
outside earlier.
I'm wearing like a pinkish lavender, and I didn't even mean to.
Not
Look,
doesn't work.
But I'm wearing pink in my picture right there.
Yeah.
I was gonna stay outside on my porch, but too many fucking mosquitoes.
I was
I
gonna
get-
say earlier when the sun was getting down, I was like, bro, are you not worried about the skeeters out there where you're at?
Well, I was more worried about the fact that my porch lights don't work for some fucking reason, even though they're motion detectors.
It's because you're a man you're invisible man. You're camouflaged. I don't know.
Oh yeah, because nobody recognizes me with this fucking.
It's so
thing.
sad. Because, like, what was it? Like, it's like they're like I don't know if they've even fixed it, but like, yeah, black people like not working on these like Snapchat filters and various other like fun like camera things. The camera picks up your face and
Like when the
changes it.
camera tells the Asian people to open their eyes because they closed them during the photo.
Yeah, the Snapchat's bad. But what's crazier about AI, dude, this is nuts. AI can tell the difference between a black person's skeleton and a white person's skeleton. And
What?
we don't know how they're doing it. We don't know how it's doing it, but it knows a way to tell the difference between a black man's skeleton and a white man's skeleton.
They do know
They-
that. They do
It's
know
the
that.
it's the
It's not that
facial
phenomenal.
mapping, the
It's not
repetitive.
No,
Oh,
constant
you think?
facial mapping.
I think it's something literally with the bones themselves. I don't know, but the idea is the AI figured it out before we did. So like
Damn.
we're trying to like they basically are giving the AI like skeletons, and it's like saying with like 99% accuracy whether or not the skeleton belonged to a Caucasian or an African person. And we're like, how are you able to tell us that? And the AI is like, I don't know.
Well,
AI is like, I just am. You don't know. You
speaking
can't
of,
tell?
as every good conversation transition, speaking of black and white, I saw a meme today that said, black people aren't upset about white Barbie, but white people are ready to lynch a black mermaid. And I was like, Barbie is based on a real person. Like,
Yeah.
and
Barbie
who
was
was
also-
who was
Barbie- there is Black
objectively
Barbie.
and factually, like, she was an alive person. Like, it's one thing
Yeah,
when you're
Barbara.
talking about a fairy tale of something that never existed, a fictional character, sure, you have that argument. But when you're talking about like an actual person that existed, whom was the inspiration for the creation of this doll, why is that open to interpretation
But
when you're
when-
like,
When
you
did they start
lose,
making?
you
When did
lose
they
the
start
it's a
making Black Barbies
fictional
and stuff?
character, why do you care so much argument?
Well, I know this, Enzo, from experience. There was a Halle Berry Catwoman Barbie that my sister got for Christmas, so I can safely say those
It was,
existed.
it was way
Black
before
Barbie
that.
movie will be next, and that's
No. But
cool.
when was the Black Barbie doll a thing? Like that became a thing like pretty early
20 years ago.
20, 30
20s.
years ago.
I
Not
remember
like
when Black Cabbage Patch dolls were a thing when I
Yeah.
was young.
Yeah.
it wasn't like anything too new, but at the same time, like here's what's funny is like, okay, so what's the name of the Ruth something or other invented Barbie? She named the doll after her daughter Barbara, and then apparently that upset her very much. And it's like, bitch, it's like
Upset Barbara.
yeah, you're upset that your mom's becoming a fucking shit zillionaire because the doll's named fucking loosely after you. Like, come on. It's like, oh, they're all gonna know they're talking about me, mom.
Maybe
Fuck.
because it just like objectified her bodily portions.
Maybe. But that was the other thing. Oh, this is funny. As I was watching Ethan Van Sciver and Cecil and them talking about this movie, and they were watching an interview with Connie Chung and the inventor of Barbie, Ruth something or other.
Yeah.
I don't know her fucking last name. I'm sorry. But she's basically had like she says in the movie, she had a double mastectomy at some point from breast cancer.
Jeez.
And
All the cool kids are doing it.
there's a point where I swear to God, Connie Chung being such a cunt, she like is interviewing Ruth and she's like, So you gotten a lot of flack because Barbie, when you invented Barbie, it was a doll with breasts, right? People were upset about this, you know? People were outraged. He's like, yeah. And she's like, well, what do you think about the irony that you invented this doll with breasts and now you yourself do not have breasts? And she was just like, yeah, what kind of fucking question is that?
Hey, so is this a real thing or was this just something I heard that was bullshit? Was Connie Chung married to Maury Povich?
Yes, she is.
Interesting.
Very, right?
But also Angelina Jolie got her breast cut off.
Preemptively though, which was so insane. She was told she had a chance of getting cancer later, and she preemptively, electively did a double mastectomy. Christina
Applegate did it.
Sounds fishy.
I feel like maybe
Christina Applegate had cancer. She had to do it.
I feel like
she has MS though, so that might have.
Who, Christina Applegate?
Slowed the.
Yeah,
well, I didn't know that. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, she's got problems.
So now she's got to take the Michael J. Fox route of mainly doing voiceover work. But
you guys want to hear a funny story about MS? I know how that sounds, but still.
No, again, very nice.
I like to laugh.
So, I guess you would say step grandpa, when I was growing up, he had MS, and it was like to the point where he had like a little sort of like a sweatband around his head that had like a micro chip thing that he could like move the mouse on the computer like with his head, and then he could like double click with it, but he was like paralyzed from the neck down. And one day, and he lived with his wife's son, who was just an absolute piece of shit, drug addict, just the worst kind of kid you could ever imagine. 40 years old, still living at home, just asking to borrow money all the time or just that kind of guy. And one day we were talking, just hanging out, watching a movie, and I said, if you had your body back, your legs back, your arms back, if you had your body back for 24 hours, what would you do? And he goes, I would dance and dance and dance and dance for 23 hours. And then that last hour, and he looked over at his stupid son-in-law and he goes, I would kick his fucking ass.
Man.
Hey, blue collar. Wes is saying to not forget your question of the day tomorrow.
which I will.
Yeah, that's a running trend apparently.
Yeah,
you're a busy man on Monday night.
Plus, I'm hungover too. So,
hey, here's a good meme right here. I like this one. Indiana Jones fans. Where are my Indiana Jones fans at?
Oh God.
There you go. There's your Barbie. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm stupid. Barbie Oppenheimer. I'm sorry.
I think I got my webcam delivered. I might plug it in a second and see how it works. How's my sound? It's my new headphones.
You sound amazing. Holy shit. Let's watch a movie after this.
Okay.
With your new headphones.
Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Glad I wasted money on the others, but.
Well, so you actually broke them? You stepped on them and they broke?
Yeah, but I meant the other ones that you didn't even like the way they sounded. Yeah, I guess those will be a backup.
Yeah, well, those are good for like, calling me, just talking. But anytime we're like on the air, yeah, use your yeah.
I'm glad they sound good.
Next, I gotta get Queef and Toxic to get some decent microphones, and then we'll be all set.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
we just got to get me
your mic is
witty replies and conversation ability, and we'll be all set.
Hey, blue collar, something you do is you could turn the gain way down and then put the mic like close up to your face like I do, because I have a lot of background noise in my shit, but I turn the gain down, and that's why the mic, like when I talk like this, you can barely hear me. But if you put it up there, so if you turn the gain down, you could reduce that ambient noise. But the catch is the microphone has to be up to your face like a big phallus.
Can you guys hear the wind, or is that okay?
No. Dude, you sound amazing. I'm so excited. I can't wait to watch some bullshit.
Yeah, she's fine.
Right, yeah, I can hear your fucking air conditioner. Like, what's going on? Is someone vacuuming?
On a second floor. It's fucking hot as hell up here.
He's got a leaf blower on his back.
Is it like your air conditioner? Oh, you have a fan.
Around the room.
With the AC on, it's hot as hell, man.
Oh, yeah. So you've been having the
what
AC
state
off
is
this whole
that
time?
again?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
What
dude,
state?
that is not allowed. Don't do that.
Blue color. What state are you in again?
He's in New Jersey, but it's summer,
Oh,
man.
okay. So yeah, so they don't have air conditioning a lot up there. Do you have one of those
Guys,
houses without air conditioning?
Can I
Actually,
do a little paid programming for a second there?
I bought a portable AC. They're awesome.
Dude, here's the
But-
thing. My mother got 4 of these things, and I gotta say, not too against them. Here's the thing. This thing was like $30. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can see. You could literally see the cold air coming out of this thing. I move my head. But like, yeah, you just put a little bit of ice cold water in it and maybe some ice. And there's like a little screen that you soak with water and put in the freezer. And then you put it in here and it, plug batteries like not lasted like it lasts like an hour and a half, but like plugged in, like you basically run it until it runs out of water for like 2 or 3 hours and definitely like blows some pretty cold ass air on you. I mean, I wouldn't say it would cool down your room or anything, but definitely like better than like a regular fan.
What kind of necklace are you wearing?
These are my headphones.
Oh,
I wore my pink headphones and my pink sunglasses and my pink shirt.
well, aren't you cute? And in theme.
Am I? Oh, here's that movie. So yeah, huge weekend for Barbenheimer, right? That's pretty funny. So here's Fat Man and Little Boy, which is what Wes was talking about. Oh God. Sorry. Here it is. I'm sorry.
Was he talking about prison? Or
No, he didn't
something?
talk about it once, and he wasn't on the stream though. He was in the comments.
Oh, well, that explains it.
I was actually proud of Wes because sometimes I tell Wes what I'm doing on my channel, and he's like, "Man, no dice." And I'm
I give
like,
him a hard
"Oh."
time, but I had totally.
But this time he
respect
was
him like
cool.
that
He was
guy.
like, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna be talking about Barbenheimer." He was asking what we're gonna stream about today, and I was like, "Well, obviously we're gonna talk about the 2 biggest movies of the year." And he was like, "Well, I'll sit this one out because I haven't seen them." And I was like, "Oh, cool." I did literally. I appreciate that he didn't like tell me like, man, you should talk about Justified some more or something. I was like, oh, you better not be saying anything like that. Of course, I'm going to talk about the 2 biggest movies in the world, even if you haven't planned on seeing them. But I do recommend seeing Fat Man and Little Boy. I'm going to show as much as I can of this. Here's the. Like you may have seen this clip from somewhere.
The fuck?
This is their version of the atomic bomb testing. But that is supposed to be Robert J. Oppenheimer. And I am pausing the movie frequently to avoid the stream being taken down, just so you know.
Mhm.
I mean,
Oh, now
Definitely-
I know. Now I know
definitely-
where the title comes from.
yeah, the bombs. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Fat Man and Little Boy are pretty sadistic code names for these giant fucking bombs they were going to drop on Japan. But what's crazy is we did only have 2 bombs allegedly. So we did kind of just blow our load, and we were glad that they surrendered after we, dropped those first 2 because we would have had to build more, But this idea of like high-fiving each other and shit, I mean, but definitely looked better. The Nolan version, obviously, but still, this is pretty cool. But also, Paul Newman's in this movie, so
Yeah, he's the Matt Damon general,
Yeah,
which just
right, there you go.
Which
Gross.
which just inherently sounds a little bit better.
I gotta say, this looks better though. This looks more insane because the explosion in the final explosion you see in Oppenheimer, it's not that huge. This giant bubble, this big air blast. Like I said, all the stuff you see at the very beginning that's in the trailer with like that atmospheric fucking sphere of death, like the shockwave like slamming onto the ground and blowing all that stuff away. That shit looked amazing. But like when it came to the actual bomb test, it didn't look nearly as good as this. All right. Anyway, you get the idea. It's a good movie. Definitely recommend it. As far as big movies about big bombs go. But Fat Man, Little Boy, it's like,
I'll take Dr. Strangelove too while I'm at it.
oh yeah, Dr. Strangelove is the best. And like I was saying about Terminator 3, like that movie is pretty corny and it's got some good action pieces, but then it ends with like full scale thermonuclear war, and you're like, God damn. Okay, a little much. But yeah, I'd recommend. I'd recommend Oppenheimer. Now, Meg, are you planning on seeing the Barbie movie?
As soon as it comes out, not on a cam version.
Sure. Yeah, you mean like a version with like Pakistani people laughing and random fucking gambling ads being played every 30 minutes?
You know, I did win a ton of money in online slots the other day.
God damn it. Hell yeah. So I guess let's go to Marty's next time I'm in town.
Yep. You know what?
And as far as I don't know, big movies about nuclear holocaust, I thought this was one of the better ones. I mean, right? No?
I mean, I'll say this: you got me more convinced to watch Fat Man and Little Boy. This is the same guy that directed Killing Fields, The Mission. Like,
Yeah.
this guy's got some credibility. I like
It's a good one, man. It's old movies. Any movie made, I always tell Meg, like anytime a movie's made before 2000, I'm suddenly like more interested in it.
Yeah, before 2016. Be realistic.
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely.
Hell, John Cusack, Laura Dern, Dr. Cox. My God.
Yeah. Who else was like surprise cameo people that were in either of these movies? I feel like there are a few. Few we left out. What else? Come on. I'm trying to use my memory here without pulling up the actual movie. It's so hard.
Casey Affleck was a waste of
Oh,
space.
right. I would literally thought it was going to be Ben Affleck. I literally, when they're like alluding to the back of his head a lot, I was like, is it Ben Affleck? And then the camera cuts around. It's like, oh, it's Casey Affleck. Okay.
Yeah, if you're gonna have a guy be like the one who you're not supposed to know, but he's supposed to know you, have someone who's actually threatening, not some douche whose voice makes him sound like he doesn't want to be there. Which is really the problem with Casey Affleck. His voice just does not do him any favors.
He's just got this kind of like, yeah, I know it's mean, right? Like the way he kind of trails off, the way he talks at the end of his mouth, you know? It's kind of, he does this thing. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like, speak with conviction, Casey. Last week, we were talking about how fucking Michael Bay gave fucking Ben Affleck $20,000 worth of dental work for Armageddon. Hilarious.
Yeah, shit. Things that I miss.
I guess that might have been before you made it in the Tom Cruise stream.
Must have been.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as like Barbie, what have you been reading any good reviews or anything about it, Meg? I mean, I know everyone's up in arms about it. I think it's a little overblown. They're like trying to boycott the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
Meg, I would say that don't take your fucking elementary school kids. If your daughter's like 13, 14, 15, yeah, all right, maybe take her. She could probably watch that movie and just still think you're a boomer. Like take your teenage daughter to the Barbie movie. You know, it's kind of like dads taking their kids to go see the Mario movie, except little boys still are obsessed with Mario. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know. Meg, are you there? Anyway, final thoughts, guys, on these movies.
Well, I mean, if nothing else, it's nice to see casual people go to the movies on a regular basis, except when they're the douchebags that I got stuck with.
Like I said, I do think this is kind of like a death rattle of movies, like one final, like little, like whimper before they finally does succumb and implode on itself.
I was kind of hoping...
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm making quilting squares, and I just left to go get some templates.
We're asking you stuff, and you were being all quiet.
Oh, I'm sorry. What were you asking me? I'll be happy to answer.
I don't know. Anybody want to ask Meg something? Just kidding. Final thoughts on this whole Barbie debacle, Meg.
Yeah. How do you feel?
Do you think Ben Shapiro might be going overboard when he's like fucking spending 45 minutes lighting Barbie dolls on fire?
What?
Yeah, apparently that's what he was doing.
No
Well,
way.
that was 30 seconds worth, and admittedly, that caused more destruction than the atomic bomb in Oppenheimer. So there's that about it.
I disagree, but okay.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Japanese will disagree.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was a really interesting juxtaposition for people to be able to, have a back-to-back double cinema experience that was so radically opposite from the other. And I think that I saw an interview the other day with what's his name, Killiam, the
Yeah,
Oppenheimer guy.
sure. Yeah, Murphy.
What's his Killian Murphy. And they were like, how do you feel about another major movie coming out on the same day as yours? And he was like, I think it's great. Like, who doesn't love a double feature at the cinema? And he was just like so humble about it, and not like, go see mine and not theirs,
Yeah.
And I think it's just been cool how the culture has sort of taken, sort of embraced both things as a symbol of clown world, I guess.
Competition, competition's good.
It's not just competition. It's like, I feel like it really represents, I hate to use the word twice, but the juxtaposition between society where it's like doomers and optimists. And part of it's like, oh, we're going to shed the patriarchy and we're going to become a beautiful utopia. And then the other is like, everything's going to shit and we're all going to
bomb
die.
ourselves. Yeah.
And I can definitely relate to both of those at different times, but sometimes more one than the other.
Well, like I said, there's something going on with these two movies speaking to us on a metaphysical level almost. Also, Cillian Murphy Brown. What do you guys? No? Yay? Nay? No? Joke? Not landing?
I've never seen an episode of it in my life.
So. Murphy Brown, though, right? But
I
anyway,
know who she is. Yes.
Okay. All right. So as long as you guys get it,
I'm a nerd. I'm supposed to know things that are before my time.
Yeah, the dorks. This is definitely a stream full of boomer middle-aged autists trying to make sense of.
I'll be the judge of that, but
yeah, trying to make sense of the media today, I'd say. But yeah, like kind of what Meg was saying about reinvigoration of the movie theater. I saw a great interview with Tom Cruise, speaking of last week's stream, where they were asking him, what are you going to see first, Barbie or Oppenheimer? And he was like, that's a great question. I think I'm going to see Oppenheimer first. You go early Friday during the day, you go see Oppenheimer, then you go get some food, then you come back to the movie theater and you go see Barbie at the middle of the night or late night, early night party time. But he was saying like that reminds him of like, he said it, he kind of inadvertently kind of spilled the beans, but he's like, yeah, back in the day, we used to go to the cinema. Meg.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I could sneak away without you noticing for 1 second.
It's like, sounds like you're ripping the fabric of space-time on your microphone.
Oh,
your microphone sounds really good is the problem.
I was ripping some fabric.
Oh, that definitely sounded cool. Keep doing it. But yeah, I mean, he was saying like, yeah, inadvertently, he's like, yeah, back in the day, we used to go theater hopping. We would go to the cinema, see a movie, then go to another cinema, see another movie, and just do it all day. And then he kind of stopped what he was saying, and he like, anyway, but it's great. It's great being back to, but he didn't realize like you're saying, like the movies are so bad, that we're saying Barbie, even though it was, I mean, yeah, I agree with Wes. Like if we were actually back in the 90s, this movie wouldn't have been shit. It would have been nothing. But because we're so starved for entertainment, this movie is kind of a big cultural moment because we've kind of been getting crap for the past like 2.5 years, 3 years.
Still are.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it's just good to like have us all go back to the theater again, like one last time. That's kind of what this whole Barbenheimer experience has been about. It's like, I don't really see Hollywood, because of the Barbie movie making so much money, they're definitely going to double down on the woke shit because they're going to take the surface level interpretation. Like, oh yeah, all the alt-right trolls were wrong. People love woke movies. That's exactly like the surface level interpretation they're going to take of Barbie's success and double down on the woke stuff, or at least these diversity and inclusion officers who work in these Hollywood studios are going to just cite the Barbie movie and be like, I still need a job because look, Barbie made money. Did money.
Well,
so
considering how many of them at Disney have lost their jobs, like if best case scenario, they'll just look at this as a fluke.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hoping that they do. I mean, it is a fluke. I mean, the fact is, it was a bait and switch. We were all tricked into seeing this movie because we thought it was going to be like a fun family romp. The truth is, it was a pretty, apt, poignant, nuanced take on feminism and womanhood from the point of women. It's one of these movies that, like, men, you can interpret it your own way. I don't know. I thought it was like, it wasn't too. I mean, like I said,
it's pretty in pink. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it looked good. It's one of these movies, kind of like I said with Starship Troopers. Like, it tried to do one thing, but
Really?
if you kind of look at it a certain way, you realize it failed and did the exact opposite. If you choose to, like, scratch under the surface a tiny bit and
speaking of
interpret it a certain way.
Speaking of scratching under the surface, I don't think anybody got that reference, but okay.
Okay.
When I said that this movie was pretty in pink, and that's it.
No, I mean, you're referencing the movie Pretty in Pink?
Yeah.
The song?
Sure.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Sure.
I think, do you mean the general aesthetic and then also
Yeah.
the general, I was thinking about that when you said it, but I didn't dare speak up while I'm quilting over here.
Well, nice to know that if I made a thumbnail of that, it would have sucked. So thank you.
Well, I mean, the other thing is that's cool about the Barbie movie is it does end with Margot Robbie getting a vagina. So that means she can fuck now. So that'll be in the sequel. Barbie getting railed. Barbie falling in love with Ken's penis.
I was going to
say realizing
fantastic.
Boys aren't so bad.
Fantastic plastic.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Ken sold the show, and then also Ryan Gosling as an actor, this is the first time he ever had any range. He's actually speaking and yelling and singing and laughing and doing all the things that he normally does. Normally, he's just like quiet. He kind of says like a couple words. Did you cut yourself?
No, I burned myself.
Multitasker.
Anyway, go on.
The world's greatest multitasking.
Show that picture of when I showed you that Ryan Gosling movie, and I was sure you were going to cry, and it backfired on me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can find that one.
You guys
Wait
do
a
that.
second.
I'll be right back.
Yes.
Yeah, I just burned my foot pretty.
How? How do you burn your foot?
I'm ironing in bed.
What? Stop doing anything in bed except sleeping and eating pickles and watching TVs. No, yeah, all this yarning.
Try and stop me.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, shit, if burning your fucking feet on hot irons won't stop
If I do it enough, then it won't burn anymore.
But yes, what was I looking up? The yes, the Notebook. God damn it. Here's how I find it. I know where to find it. I'll find it like this. I'll go to the drinker page and let's see here. Look up myself. I love to look up myself. It's my favorite thing to do.
Oh, did you look, or did you make a video of it, or are you just showing that picture?
No, just a picture. Sharing a picture here. I shared a picture somewhere a long time ago when it happened.
I did.
Oh yeah. Wait. We're getting close. I can feel it. Chris, Meg, say something. Talk about something.
Yeah.
Talking about stuff.
Now, Chris, I mean, I know it's okay if you disagree with me about my hot Barbie takes. I mean, I know Russ was very livid about the movie.
That's why I said that it's like the film. It's like if it was satire, I'd be fine with that. But the problem nowadays is just these people. It's not satire; they actually feel this way. That's what's scary about this whole film. Like these women, they actually feel like this is how men act in the fucking real world, and it's not.
Yeah,
that is scary.
I mean, again, fucking feminine power fantasies are always so silly. It's like they literally joke about how, like, yeah, we'll have the Supreme Court and then we'll have all the power. They literally say shit like that in the movie twice, and it's like, ugh, weird.
That's why I said I laugh when other people YouTube break down like, okay, well, you want to break down all the fucking jobs, all the jobs that you aren't willing to do, that men do to have a society. Yeah, okay.
All right, guys,
Let's
I found
talk
it.
about that.
This was around February 13th, Valentine's Day. I should have.
We're having
thought about that.
Valentine's theme movie night.
Yeah, we watched this and Return of the Living Dead Part 3. We watched
I was
The
for
Notebook.
sure that I was gonna make him cry with this movie.
This was us right after watching The Notebook with Ryan Gosling. Megan is crying her balls off, and I'm just like, that movie was so gay. I was like, wait, they died at the same time? How does that work out? Let's just
I like
lay
how
in
my
bed.
first real big picture of this stream has been that one.
No, that's not true. Well, I was showing this earlier.
Oh, were you?
Yeah,
That one's
it's good.
also.
There
This
you
is
go.
good.
That was a
Great.
good day.
That was a good day. Had strawberries in my mouth, sipping champagne.
Yeah, it was a friend's wedding. We were getting drunk before she had to go get married.
So more Tom Cruise stuff. There's this fucking meme of Tom Cruise with his, I love my popcorn, eating his popcorn, getting ready for movie day. And my comment was just like, is he ever going to eat one of those fucking cakes he sends everyone? You've heard about this, right?
Me?
Tom Cruise and his cakes.
Yeah.
Nah.
Tom Cruise, when he likes you, one thing he'll do as a sign of like respect or happy birthday or whatever, there's some bakery out in LA that makes the best like Italian white chocolate cream cake in the world. And he'll send you one of these phenomenal cakes. He sends everyone the same cake. It's called the Tom Cruise cake, basically.
Awesome.
Because if Tom Cruise likes you, he'll send you this cake. And I'm sure it's like a fucking $200 cake or some bullshit. And it's also like the big fuck you about it is like they ask him like, what is it his favorite cake? And he's like, I've never eaten it because I don't eat cake.
Well
And
done.
it's just like, what a fucking weirdo. Is that like a fucking like, it seems like a whole like, keep my competition actor fat. Some other leading man actor that is a threat to me. I'm going to just buy him a cake, give it to him as a gift. Giant white chocolate Italian cream cake. But I want to try this Tom Cruise
that
cake.
checks out.
I want to try a Tom Cruise cake, see what it's like.
Bet it's delicious.
Apparently you can order it yourself.
I bet it's an offer you can't say no to.
Is that The Godfather?
Yeah.
But Tom Cruise wasn't in The Godfather.
I know, it was a joke. I'm gonna go.
Also,
get a
the
Sharpie.
line
I'll be
is,
right
it's
back.
an offer you can't refuse. Bada bing. No, I'm joking. Well, I don't know. We've been talking for 3.5 hours about these two movies. Anything else we want to say? Tyler,
Covered.
Blue Collar, you're falling asleep. How's that pink lemonade? Very good. Very good. Meg, what do you want to watch after this? Let's watch something stupid. Or we could just watch nothing. I guess. All right, Tyler, thoughts on Barbie, Oppenheimer? I mean, obviously you liked Oppenheimer more than Barbie, right?
Well, partly because I've actually seen Oppenheimer, but I will say it's not one of my favorite Nolan movies, but I consider it middle tier by his standards.
Middle tier. What would be your top ones?
Memento was the top one for me, in all honesty. Like that
Cool.
never gets old.
Stepped on his zipper.
Meg, you don't answer any questions, and then you just say,
No,
I
I literally just said I'm going to get a Sharpie. I'll be right back.
Well, you got to mute your You got to mute your thing now when you take your headphones off and
Okay,
on.
sorry.
That's what's gonna have to happen.
Sorry.
Bad Megan. How dare you? Just joking.
How dare you?
Yeah. Sorry, Tyler. Sorry for this woman interrupting us.
Apologies.
With her fabricking.
I'd have to have had a conversation with her in any of these streams to feel anything about that. So
Okay.
Ooh, I don't know how to take that.
well, we'll just blame these two for constantly interrupting.
Yeah, we are, like I said, a little ADHD on this show. It's whatever. It's like we're in a bar drinking with beers, shit.
Mhm.
We all fucking yell over each other and shit. It's always sunny. Yeah, that's how the vibe is. All right. If we ever want to do a real good show, we can. But I mean, we're here talking about Barbenheimer. And again, it's like one of these things where these shouldn't be the two biggest movies of the year. If we were in the year 2001 or 1999 or 2000, no, I don't think so.
So what? So like Meg is Deandra and you're Dennis and Charlie.
Yeah. Sure. Can I be Frank? Or
Okay.
who would I be?
No,
Would I be Dennis?
You're Dennis.
Oh, cool. I could be a sociopath.
Tyler's definitely Mac.
The implication. Tyler's the muscle. Yeah. Yeah, Charlie, you're the Charlie.
Yep. I love killing rats. Killing rats.
My tattoos actually do have pink on them, so that definitely
No, Wes would be Mac, right? Because he's all like I'm just joking.
I can picture Wes.
We'll call Wes B. Frank.
Or Russ. Well, shit. What was I gonna say? Yeah, as far as like other movies besides Memento, your thoughts on Prestige or Insomnia? Or
I love Prestige because I didn't see where it was going.
I think Tyler's like the odd man out saying Memento's his favorite, which is good. I mean, I think that's like my second favorite Nolan.
Excellent as well.
I gotta say, but Memento doesn't have David Bowie in it, so I gotta give points to fucking Prestige for that.
No, but
and if Oppenheimer had David Bowie in it by some miracle,
hey, Memento has Carrie Ann Moss and Joe Pantoliano. That's plenty for me.
Yeah, Joey Pants is great in that one, and Carrie Ann Moss spitting in his coffee. Who else? The hotel guy,
Bobby Elvis.
The guy from 30 Days of Night and stuff. I love it. Anyway, Greta Gerwig. I don't know if she's a man-hating feminazi. I wouldn't be surprised if most of the more toxic feminist qualities of the Barbie movie were, shoehorned in by producer influence and various HR department type characters.
Unless the pandemic soured her, which honestly that wouldn't surprise me if that were the case. I don't know what happened to her.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Sounds like Megan's digging in a bag of marbles.
Nope.
Okay.
Bag of razors.
Nice. That sounds like a fun little a fun game.
Bag of razors?
Yeah, dig in the bag of razors and try to find the candy.
Oh no, the funner game is sleep in this bed of needles and try not to get poked at night.
Oh, by sewing? You're sewing in bed too. You're sewing and ironing and doing all your crafting in bed.
I'd like to be in bed.
Speaking of, I think that's where I'm heading.
Yeah, it's 311, which is Meg's favorite band. So I guess we're going to...
Shut up.
Amber is the color of her energy, and all this pink is harshing her buzz. So I think on that note, I hope we don't bomb ourselves with nuclear war. I like how both movies were about an existential threat to mankind, whether it be third wave feminism or nuclear holocausts. I like how both of these movies were written and directed by auteurs hell bent on doing everything practical in camera using old school technical special effects. I like how both movies had very large casts with lots of fun cameos. I like how Megan is winding up her race car toys, getting ready for her little Hot Wheels race.
Go mute.
Both films were too long.
Yeah, both films are a good 15% too long. I like how Oppenheimer did have this like heat vibe where the bomb was basically like the bank robbery, and you're like, okay, so this movie's wrapping up, right? And you're like, nope, still an hour of court and shit, an hour of like weird McCarthy style accusations. Like, oh, okay. And then we're gonna show another bomb go off later. Nope. We're gonna see Japanese people get vaporized. I did like the the big when they're all celebrating in the gym. Yeah. And he's like telling everyone how like today's gonna be a day that we'll remember forever, and like you can't hear the crowd and the screen's all shaking behind him, and he's like walking through all those people cheering, and he like steps on that like charred body. And then like there's like little cuts to like, random lady crying and random guy vomiting. It's just like, ugh. It's not all celebrations. Just like these two movies. Just because these movies made a bunch of money, don't think Hollywood is out of the weeds. I think things are just going to get worse for Hollywood. I really think this is kind of like definitely going to be Chris Nolan's. This might be Chris Nolan's last big movie because I don't think we're going to be doing stuff like this anymore. Avatars and, I don't know, $100 million historical biopics. I don't think we're going to be doing movie theaters too much. We're definitely not going to be doing all these dumb streaming shows. We're definitely not going to be doing all these what have yous, Marvel and Star Wars and Lucasfilm brands, sequels and reboots. I don't know. I think it's just all tapped out.
Yeah.
Any other movies we're excited about this year? Because I know
I want to see Dune 2.
Here's hoping it's still coming out this year.
the only thing I can think of that I'm excited about right now is the new Godzilla from Japan.
Yeah.
Godzilla
-1.
-1. There you go.
Judging by that poster you showed me of the creator, I might give that a go.
It seems just like Shin Godzilla, except set in 1954. And it's the old school Godzilla with like the standard cat face. So I'm excited about that. We'll see how that works. Well,
I'm looking forward to seeing the Marvels for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, that's the other thing, guys. It's like
I'm not wasting my money on that.
Yeah, that's kind of going to be. And now for my final thought.
Oh yeah,
we can't be absorbed by this vitriol and hatred. I mean, I understand the rage baiting, the clicks, the negative energy clicks they seem to get more views, but it's just very soul draining to just be rushing to the theaters to see this garbage just so we can get on YouTube and talk about how it's terrible to our menial audiences, our friends, basically, just trying to shout, hey, these movies are bad. I don't know. I just think it's one of these things where sometimes we just have to be thankful for the entertainment we get. And like I said in my Barbenheimer video, we just gotta start looking forward to forging our own entertainment, just entertaining ourselves. You know, these little hangout sessions and going to karaoke and watching old movies and television shows that have long been since canceled. I think that's where the future lies. Smaller films with bigger hearts, meaning behind this stuff. Enough of this Epstein Island fucking overindulgence, self-indulgence, vanity, grandiose nonsense. I don't know. I'm rambling, but I just think we're all just sick of this shit. Old Hollywood. It's over. It's over, and so is the stream. Goodbye. Thank you for watching.